You are about to discover something most people will never understand. Thinking like an entrepreneur is not a talent you are born with. It is a skill you build through deliberate practice and specific choices you make every single day. Right now, in 2026, the gap between those who think like entrepreneurs and those who think like employees is wider than ever before. Technology moves faster. Markets shift overnight. Opportunities appear and disappear within months. The person who waits for permission, who needs certainty before acting, who follows instructions instead of creating solutions, will struggle increasingly in this world. But the person who embraces uncertainty, who moves quickly despite incomplete information, who builds systems that multiply their impact, will thrive beyond what seems possible today. This book contains 20 chapters that will transform how you approach every decision in your business and life. You will learn how to turn failures into profit, how to build income that flows while you sleep, how to network with people far above your current level, how to solve problems nobody else will touch. Each chapter gives you specific actions you can take immediately, not theory you might apply someday. You will finish this book with a completely different mindset than you have right now. You will see opportunities where you currently see obstacles. You will move forward where you currently hesitate. You will build wealth where you currently just earn income. The entrepreneurs who dominate 2026 and beyond are being formed right now through the choices they make today. This book ensures you become one of them. Turn the page and begin your transformation. Chapter 1. Embrace uncertainty as your greatest competitive advantage. Most people spend their entire lives chasing certainty. They want guarantees before they start. They want to know the outcome before they take the first step. They want a map that shows them exactly where every turn leads before they even leave their driveway. But here is what nobody tells you. While everyone else is waiting for certainty, entrepreneurs are already moving through the fog. They understand something fundamental that separates them from the crowd. Uncertainty is not the enemy. Uncertainty is the opening. It is the crack in the market where fortunes are made. It is the space where innovation happens. It is your competitive advantage if you know how to use it. Think about every major breakthrough in business history. When Steve Jobs decided to remove the keyboard from phones, nobody knew if people would accept it. When Reed Hastings bet Netflix's entire future on streaming instead of DVD rentals, analysts called it suicide. When Sarah Blakely started Spanx with $5,000 and no experience in fashion, every expert would have told her to stop. But they did not stop. They moved forward despite uncertainty. They understood that uncertainty creates opportunity precisely because it scares everyone else away. Where others see risk and retreat, entrepreneurs see possibility and advance. Your brain is wired to seek certainty. This is not your fault. For thousands of years, uncertainty meant danger. The rustle in the bushes could be wind or it could be a predator. Our ancestors who assumed the worst and sought safety survived. Those who embraced uncertainty often did not. So your brain inherited this fear. Every time you face an uncertain situation, your amygdala fires warning signals. Your body tenses. Your mind generates worst-case scenarios. This is biology, not weakness. But in modern business, this ancient wiring works against you. The rustle in the bushes is now an untested market, an unproven product, a business model nobody has validated. And while your instincts scream danger, opportunity is actually standing right in front of you. Entrepreneurs who succeed learn to reframe uncertainty completely. They do not pretend the fear disappears. They do not ignore the risks. Instead, they train themselves to see uncertainty as information. When a market is uncertain, it means the competition has not figured it out yet. When a trend is unclear, it means you can shape it instead of following it. When the path forward is foggy, it means you get to create the trail that others will eventually follow. Uncertainty is not a void. It is a blank canvas. Most people see the blank canvas and walk away because they do not know what to paint. Entrepreneurs see the blank canvas and realize they get to decide what goes on it. Start by changing your internal dialogue. When you catch yourself thinking, "I don't know if this will work," add one word: yet. I do not know if this will work yet. This simple addition shifts your brain from fixed to growth mode. It transforms uncertainty from a wall into a process. You are no longer blocked. You are simply early in the journey. This matters more than you think. Your self-talk shapes your decisions. If you tell yourself uncertainty equals danger, you will avoid it. If you tell yourself uncertainty equals early-stage opportunity, you will move toward it. Next, build your tolerance for uncertainty gradually. You cannot go from needing complete certainty to betting everything on an unproven idea overnight. That is not courage. That is recklessness. Instead, practice making small decisions without complete information. Choose a restaurant without reading every review. Take a different route to work without checking traffic. Buy a book based on the title alone. These tiny acts train your brain to function without perfect data. You learn that uncertainty does not kill you. You learn that you can handle outcomes you did not predict. You build the mental muscle that every entrepreneur needs. Then apply this to business decisions. Start a side project without knowing if anyone will buy it. Reach out to a potential mentor without knowing if they will respond. Publish your idea before you have every detail perfected. Launch the minimum viable version instead of waiting for the complete product. Each time you act despite uncertainty, you prove to yourself that you can operate in ambiguity. You collect evidence that uncertainty is manageable, and evidence changes belief faster than any motivational speech ever will. Understand that certainty is often an illusion anyway. People who wait for certainty are not actually eliminating risk. They are just delaying it. Markets shift. Technology evolves. Consumer preferences change. The safe, corporate job disappears in a restructuring. The proven business model becomes obsolete. The guaranteed investment collapses. Certainty is a story we tell ourselves to feel comfortable, but it rarely reflects reality. Entrepreneurs accept this truth earlier than most. They realize that if certainty is an illusion, they might as well act now rather than wait for an illusion to feel more real. Your competitive advantage grows in proportion to your comfort with uncertainty. While your competitors are running focus groups and analyzing data and waiting for market validation, you are testing and learning and iterating. You gain months or years of head start. You discover what works through direct experience rather than theoretical analysis. You build relationships with early customers who become your biggest advocates. You make mistakes while the stakes are still small and the lessons are still cheap. By the time the market becomes certain and everyone else jumps in, you have already established position. You have expertise. You have systems. You have momentum. Uncertainty gave you all of that because you moved while others hesitated. This does not mean being careless. Embracing uncertainty is not the same as ignoring reality. Smart entrepreneurs gather information quickly. They test assumptions cheaply. They build feedback loops that tell them if they are on the right track. They set decision points where they will pivot or quit if certain conditions are not met. They manage risk actively rather than pretending it does not exist. But they do all of this while moving forward, not while standing still. They research while building. They analyze while testing. They plan while executing. The key difference is they do not let uncertainty stop them from starting. You will face uncertainty every single day as an entrepreneur. Which marketing channel to focus on? Which hire to make? Which feature to build next? Which partnership to pursue? Which expense to cut? None of these decisions come with guarantees. None of them have obvious right answers. But entrepreneurs who thrive make the best decision they can with the information they have, then adjust based on results. They understand that making a good decision quickly beats making a perfect decision slowly. They know that action produces clarity faster than analysis produces certainty. The world rewards people who move despite uncertainty. It rewards them with experience that cannot be taught, with opportunities that never get advertised, with insights that only come from direct contact with reality, with confidence that only builds through repeated exposure to the unknown. Every time you step into uncertainty and survive, you expand your capacity to handle bigger uncertainties. You increase your tolerance for risk. You sharpen your judgment. You become the person who can see opportunity where others see only chaos. So stop waiting for certainty. It is not coming. The fog will not clear before you start walking. The path will not reveal itself before you take the first step. Embrace the uncertainty. Move into it deliberately. Use it as your competitive advantage. While everyone else is paralyzed by what they do not know, you will be learning by doing. And that makes all the difference. Chapter 2. Transform failures into profitable learning opportunities quickly. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is the raw material of success. But most people never learn this because they treat failure like a disease instead of data. They hide it. They avoid talking about it. They pretend it never happened, and in doing so, they throw away the most valuable education they will ever receive. Entrepreneurs think differently. They do not celebrate failure for the sake of it, but they extract every lesson from it faster than anyone else. They turn mistakes into market intelligence. They convert setbacks into strategic advantages. They mine their failures for insights that their competitors will never discover because their competitors never fail fast enough to learn anything useful. The difference between people who stay stuck and people who break through is speed. Not the speed of success, but the speed of learning from failure. When something does not work, average people spend weeks feeling bad about it. They replay the failure in their minds. They tell themselves stories about why they are not good enough. They let the disappointment paralyze their next move. Entrepreneurs feel the disappointment too, but they move through it rapidly. They ask better questions immediately. What specifically went wrong? Which assumption was incorrect? What does this reveal about the market? What would I do differently next time? They treat failure like a scientist treats a failed experiment. The hypothesis was wrong, but the data is priceless. You need a system for processing failure quickly. Without a system, failure becomes emotional instead of educational. Within 24 hours of any setback, sit down and write out 3 things. First, what actually happened without any interpretation or emotion? Just the facts. You launched a product and got 3 sales instead of 300. You pitched an investor and they said no. You hired someone who quit after 2 weeks. Write it down clinically. Second, what you believed would happen and why. This exposes your assumptions. You believed people would buy because your friends said it was a good idea. You believed the investor would say yes because your pitch deck looked professional. You believed the employee would stay because you offered competitive pay. Third, what you now know that you did not know before. People want proof before they buy from someone new. Investors care more about traction than presentation. Employees leave for reasons beyond money. This 3-step process takes 15 minutes and transforms failure from an emotional wound into actionable intelligence. Most failures contain multiple lessons, but people usually only extract the surface one. Go deeper. When a marketing campaign fails, the obvious lesson might be that the channel did not work. But dig further. Maybe the channel was fine, but your message was unclear. Maybe your message was clear, but you targeted the wrong audience. Maybe your audience was right, but your timing was off. Maybe your timing was perfect, but your offer was not compelling enough. Each layer reveals something new. Entrepreneurs who extract 5 lessons from 1 failure advance 5 times faster than those who extract 1 lesson from 5 failures. Speed matters because markets move. A lesson learned 6 months late is often useless. The opportunity has passed. The conditions have changed. Your competitors have already adapted. But a lesson learned within days gives you an advantage while it still matters. You can pivot immediately. You can test a new approach while you still have resources. You can adjust your strategy before you waste more time and money going in the wrong direction. Fast failure is cheap. Slow failure is expensive. The entrepreneur who fails on Monday and pivots on Wednesday will always beat the entrepreneur who fails on Monday and wallows until Friday. Create a failure log. Every week, write down what did not work. Not just the big obvious failures, but the small ones too. The email subject line that got no opens. The social media post that got no engagement. The meeting that went nowhere. The task that took 3 hours when you thought it would take 30 minutes. Document everything. Then every month, review your log and look for patterns. You will start seeing the same mistakes repeated in different forms. You keep underestimating how long things take. You keep overestimating how much people care about features instead of benefits. You keep saying yes to opportunities that distract you from your main goal. Patterns reveal your blind spots. Once you see the pattern, you can break it. Share your failures strategically, not for sympathy, but for feedback. Find 3 people who understand your market and tell them specifically what went wrong. Ask them what they would have done differently. You will get perspectives you never considered. Someone will point out an angle you missed. Someone will mention a similar situation and how they handled it. Someone will ask a question that makes you realize your real mistake was 2 steps earlier than you thought. Other people's experience becomes your experience when you share your failures openly. Turn every failure into content. Write a post about what you learned. Record a video explaining your mistake. Share the lesson with your audience. This does 3 things. First, it forces you to articulate the lesson clearly, which deepens your own understanding. Second, it builds trust with your audience because people respect transparency more than perfection. Third, it attracts opportunities because people want to work with those who learn fast and share generously. Your failures become proof that you are someone who grows rather than someone who quits. Build a personal board of advisors who have failed bigger than you. Find people who lost money, shut down businesses, got rejected by major investors, made hiring mistakes that cost them years. These people have paid tuition you have not paid yet. They see patterns you cannot see because you lack their accumulated failures. Meet with them quarterly. Share your recent setbacks. Ask them what those setbacks remind them of from their own journey. Their pattern recognition will save you from repeating mistakes that have already been made 1,000 times before. Distinguish between good failures and bad failures. Good failures happen when you test something new, move quickly, and learn something valuable. Bad failures happen when you ignore warning signs, repeat known mistakes, or fail slowly while pretending everything is fine. Good failures are investments in your education. Bad failures are just carelessness. Entrepreneurs maximize good failures and minimize bad failures. They take smart risks that might not work, but will definitely teach. They avoid stupid risks that waste resources without producing insight. Measure your learning velocity, not just your success rate. How many experiments did you run this month? How many new things did you try? How many assumptions did you test? How many pivots did you make based on data? If you ran 10 experiments and 9 failed, but you learned something valuable from each failure, you are ahead of someone who ran 1 experiment and succeeded but learned nothing new. Volume of learning beats percentage of success in the early stages. Later you optimize for success rate, but first you optimize for learning speed. Failure is only permanent if you stop. Every successful entrepreneur has a graveyard of failed projects behind them. Products that nobody bought. Businesses that went nowhere. Ideas that sounded brilliant but collapsed under market contact. The difference is they kept moving. They took the lesson and tried again with better information. They failed forward instead of failing backward. Each failure made them smarter, faster, more resilient, more realistic, more strategic. Their current success sits on a foundation built from previous failures. Stop treating failure as something to avoid and start treating it as something to harvest. The faster you fail, the faster you learn. The faster you learn, the faster you succeed. Your competitors are afraid to fail, so they move slowly. They test cautiously. They play it safe. That fear is your advantage. While they are avoiding failure, you are collecting data they will never have. While they are protecting their ego, you are building real expertise. While they are waiting for guaranteed success, you are learning what actually works. Transform your failures into profit by extracting every lesson immediately and applying it before the next sunrise. Chapter 3. Build systems that generate income while sleeping. Trading time for money is a trap disguised as stability. You work an hour, you earn a fixed amount. You stop working, the money stops coming. This equation seems normal because everyone around you follows it, but it guarantees you will never build real wealth. There are only so many hours in a day, only so much energy in your body, only so many years before exhaustion wins. Entrepreneurs who break free understand a fundamental truth: your income should not depend on your physical presence. You need systems that work when you sleep, vacation, or decide to take a month off. You need income that multiplies without multiplying your effort. You need to build once and profit repeatedly. The concept sounds abstract until you break it down into mechanics. A system is nothing more than a repeatable process that produces a predictable result without requiring your constant attention. Amazon runs on systems. When you buy something at 3 in the morning, no human is processing your order. Software handles payment. Algorithms select the warehouse. Robots pick the product. Carriers deliver it. Profit flows to the business owner who built the system years ago. You need the same principle operating in your business, scaled to whatever level you are currently at. The size does not matter, the structure does. Start by identifying where you are currently trading time for money directly. If you are a consultant, you trade hours for fees. If you are a freelancer, you trade projects for payments. If you run a service business, you trade your team's hours for client revenue. None of these scale beyond the hours available. Your first job is to convert your expertise from a service into a product. Record what you know. Write what you do. Package your process into something someone can buy without needing your live presence. This is not about replacing human connection. This is about serving more people than your schedule allows. Create a digital product that solves one specific problem completely, not a course about everything you know, not a guide covering your entire industry. One problem, one solution, packaged clearly. If you teach marketing, create a product about writing email subject lines that get opened. If you are a fitness coach, create a product about fixing lower back pain in 10 minutes daily. If you consult on sales, create a product about handling the 3 most common objections in your industry. Narrow focus creates higher value because people pay more for specific solutions than general information. Your digital product works while you sleep because once created, it can be purchased and consumed without you being present. Build an automated sales system around that product. Someone visits your website, reads your content, enters their email to get something valuable, receives a sequence of emails that educate and build trust, gets an offer to buy your product, completes the purchase through automated payment processing, receives instant access to the product, and consumes it without you touching anything. This entire sequence runs 24 hours daily. Geography does not matter. Time zones become irrelevant. You make sales in countries you have never visited during hours you are sleeping, from people you will never meet. This is not passive income in the sense that you do nothing. This is leveraged income where your upfront work pays dividends continuously. Email is your most valuable asset for building income while sleeping, not social media, which rents you an audience that platforms control. Email gives you direct access to people who raise their hand and ask to hear from you. Build your list obsessively. Offer something valuable in exchange for an email address, a checklist, a template, a calculator, a mini course, a resource guide, whatever your audience needs most right now in exchange for permission to follow up. Then send valuable emails consistently, not sales pitches, not spam, useful information that makes people glad they subscribed. When you eventually offer something for sale, a percentage will buy because you have already proven your value repeatedly. Subscription revenue transforms one-time customers into ongoing income streams. Instead of selling a product once, sell ongoing access, ongoing value, ongoing support. Software companies figured this out decades ago. Adobe stopped selling Photoshop for one payment and started charging monthly. Their revenue became predictable. Netflix does not sell movies. They sell access to a library. Gyms do not charge per visit. They charge monthly whether you show up or not. Apply this model to whatever you offer: membership sites, exclusive communities, weekly deliverables, monthly coaching calls, continuous updates, annual access. When 100 people pay you $50 monthly, that is $5,000 coming in whether you work that month or not. Affiliate partnerships let you earn from products you did not create. Find products your audience already needs and recommend them strategically. Not random recommendations, not anything that pays a commission. Only products you genuinely believe solve real problems for your specific audience. Place affiliate links in your content naturally. Write reviews. Create comparison guides. Build resource pages. When someone clicks through and purchases, you earn a percentage without handling inventory, customer service, shipping, or product creation. Your content works continuously, generating affiliate revenue months or years after you published it. Licensing your expertise allows others to deliver your methods while you collect royalties. Create a framework, a system, a methodology that produces results. Document it thoroughly. Then license it to other professionals who serve the same market in different regions or niches. They pay you a fee or percentage to use your brand, your materials, your proven process. They do the work. You collect income based on their success using what you built. This works for coaching systems, training programs, consulting frameworks, assessment tools, any intellectual property that others can implement. Automate your back-end operation so transactions happen without manual intervention. Payment processing should be instant and automatic. Product delivery should happen immediately after purchase. Customer onboarding should trigger from a purchase event. Receipts should send automatically. Access should be granted without you clicking anything. Refunds should process according to preset rules. Every manual step you remove is another opportunity for income to flow while you focus on higher value activities or simply rest. Hire virtual assistants and contractors to handle tasks that generate income but do not require your specific expertise. Someone else can schedule social media posts that drive traffic to your automated sales funnel. Someone else can respond to basic customer questions following your templates. Someone else can edit videos, design graphics, format documents, manage your calendar. Your role shifts from doing everything to orchestrating a team that keeps the income system running. You pay them for hours worked. You earn from the system they maintain. The math works when the system generates more than the team costs. Content marketing feeds your income system continuously. Every blog post you write can attract visitors years later. Every video you publish can generate views long after you recorded it. Every podcast episode can be discovered by new listeners months from now. This content attracts people who enter your email list, discover your products, join your subscriptions, click your affiliate links. Content creation requires upfront effort but pays ongoing dividends. The article you write today might generate income for the next 5 years. Track metrics that matter for sleeping income. Monthly recurring revenue, email list growth rate, product conversion percentages, affiliate click-through rates, customer lifetime value. These numbers tell you whether your system is strengthening or weakening. Optimize relentlessly. Test different email subject lines. Try alternate product descriptions. Experiment with pricing. Adjust your content strategy. Small improvements compound dramatically when multiplied across automated systems running continuously. Building income while sleeping is not about getting rich quick. It is about constructing assets that work when you do not. It requires months of building before you see significant returns. The first digital product might take 80 hours to create and sell 3 copies in the first month, but it sells another 5 the next month without additional effort. Then 10, then 20. Meanwhile, you create a second product, then a third. You optimize your email sequences. You improve your conversion rates. 6 months later, you wake up to notifications of sales that happened overnight. A year later, a meaningful portion of your income arrives without your direct involvement. Your goal is not to eliminate work. Your goal is to decouple income from hours, to create breathing room, to build wealth that survives illness, vacation, or simply choosing to spend Tuesday with your family instead of on sales calls. Systems give you options that hourly work never provides. Start building today, because the system you start now will be producing income a year from now while you are building the next system. Chapter 4. Network strategically with people above your level. Your network determines your net worth, but most people network horizontally when they should network vertically. They connect with peers at their same level, attend events filled with people facing identical struggles, and wonder why nothing accelerates. Comfort keeps you surrounded by familiar faces who validate your current position instead of pulling you toward your next one. Entrepreneurs who rise fastest do something uncomfortable. They pursue relationships with people operating 3 to 5 levels above where they currently stand. Not to use them, not to extract value selfishly, but to absorb their thinking, adopt their standards, and access opportunities that never reach lower levels. The room you are in determines the game you play. People above your level see problems you have not encountered yet. They have already navigated the obstacles currently blocking you. They know which strategies work and which ones waste years. They recognize patterns from repetition that you are experiencing for the first time. When you network horizontally with peers, you share ignorance. When you network vertically with people ahead of you, you compress decades into conversations. One insight from someone operating at scale can save you 3 years of trial and error. One introduction from someone with established credibility can open doors that remain locked no matter how hard you knock. Access is everything, and access flows downward from those who already have it. Most people fail at vertical networking because they approach it transactionally. They want something immediately. They ask for favors before building rapport. They pitch their business in the first message. They request introductions to valuable contacts without offering anything meaningful. This approach fails because successful people protect their time ruthlessly. They ignore requests that signal you only care about what they can give you. They have been approached thousands of times by people who want access to their network, their audience, their resources. Your message looks identical to everyone else's unless you change your strategy completely. Provide value first without expecting anything back. Study someone you want to connect with deeply. Read everything they have written. Watch their interviews. Understand their current projects. Identify a specific problem they are working on right now. Then solve a small piece of it without being asked. Send them a detailed analysis of their competitor's strategy. Record a video reviewing their product and highlighting 3 specific improvements. Write a summary of market research relevant to their next launch. Tag them in content that shares their work with your audience. The key is specificity. Generic compliments get ignored. Specific value gets attention. When someone above your level sees you delivering useful work without expecting payment or favors, you separate yourself from the crowd immediately. Attend events where successful people gather, but do not attend to collect business cards. Most people at conferences race around trying to meet everyone, have shallow conversations, exchange contact information, and accomplish nothing. Strategic networkers do the opposite. They research attendees beforehand, identify 3 to 5 people they specifically want to meet, prepare thoughtful questions for each person, and focus on having one meaningful conversation instead of 20 forgettable ones. Quality beats quantity in every scenario. One relationship with someone influential creates more opportunities than 100 connections with people who cannot help you grow. Ask better questions that showcase your thinking rather than reveal your neediness. Weak questions sound like this: can you mentor me? Will you introduce me to investors? How did you get started? These questions center on what you want and demonstrate no preparation. Strong questions sound like this: you mentioned in your podcast that you focus on customer lifetime value over acquisition cost. How do you structure your retention systems to maximize that metric? I noticed your company expanded into 3 new markets last year. What criteria did you use to prioritize which markets to enter first? You wrote about hiring for adaptability rather than experience. Can you share how you assess adaptability in interviews? These questions prove you have done homework, thought deeply, and want to understand their specific approach. People above your level engage with those who ask intelligent questions because it signals you are worth their time. Volunteer for roles that put you in proximity to people operating above your level. Join advisory boards for startups backed by investors you want to meet. Offer to help organize industry events where speakers you admire will be present. contribute to publications read by leaders in your field. Serve on committees for professional organizations. These positions place you in the same rooms, same conversations, same projects as people you would never access through cold outreach. Proximity creates familiarity. Familiarity builds trust. Trust opens opportunities. You are no longer the stranger asking for favors. You are the person they worked alongside who delivered value consistently. Master the follow-up. Most people meet someone valuable, exchange contact information, and never reconnect. The relationship dies before it starts. Send a follow-up message within 48 hours referencing something specific from your conversation. Not a generic nice to meet you message, something that proves you listened and remembered. Mention the book they recommended. Reference the challenge they described. Share an article related to the topic you discussed. Then follow up again 30 days later with something valuable. A relevant introduction, a piece of research, an insight from your own work that applies to their situation. Successful people remember those who add value without asking for anything. Do this consistently for 6 months, and you transform from a random contact into someone they think of when opportunities arise. Join paid communities and masterminds where accomplished people gather. Free groups attract people at the beginning. Paid groups filter for commitment and success. When you invest significantly to join a community, you immediately surround yourself with others who made the same investment, which typically means they are earning enough to afford it and serious enough to prioritize growth over cost. These environments accelerate relationships because everyone present has already qualified themselves financially and philosophically. You are networking with people who share your values around investing in themselves, which predicts they are moving upward. Offer your unique skills as barter when you cannot afford to hire experts. If you need advice from a lawyer but cannot pay legal fees, offer your marketing expertise to improve their website. If you want mentorship from a consultant but lack budget, offer to manage their social media for 3 months. If you want access to an investor's network but have no capital to invest, offer to source deal flow in an industry you understand deeply. High-level people still have needs, and when you can fulfill one of those needs with a skill they lack, you create an exchange that benefits both parties. This only works if your skill genuinely helps them. Empty offers get dismissed instantly. Show up consistently in spaces where your target connections pay attention. Comment thoughtfully on their social media posts. Share their content with added insights. Write about topics they care about and tag them when relevant. Attend their webinars and ask substantive questions. Purchase their products and provide detailed feedback. Visibility builds recognition. Recognition builds relationships. After seeing your name contribute value repeatedly, they begin to notice you. Eventually, when you reach out directly, you are not a stranger. You are someone whose work they have already encountered multiple times. Respect their time by being direct and prepared. When you finally get a meeting or call with someone above your level, arrive with a clear agenda. Know exactly what you want to learn or discuss. Have specific questions written down. Take notes during the conversation. If they offer to introduce you to someone, respond within hours with exactly what you need from that introduction so they can make it easily. If they recommend a resource, consume it immediately and report back with what you learned. Busy people give time to those who use it well. Waste their time once and you will never get it again. Use it wisely and they will give you more. Understand that vertical networking is a long-term strategy. You will not meet someone operating at 10 times your level and instantly access their network. Trust builds through repeated interactions over months or years. But each conversation, each value exchange, each demonstration of your competence adds deposits to a relationship account. Eventually, that account reaches a threshold where opportunities flow naturally. They think of you for partnerships. They introduce you to their contacts. They recommend you when someone asks for help in your area. These opportunities never get posted publicly. They travel through relationships between people who trust each other. Position yourself in those relationships now, and in 2 years you will access opportunities you cannot even imagine today. Chapter 5. Solve problems nobody else wants to tackle. Competition clusters around easy problems with obvious solutions. Everyone wants to build the next social media app because success stories make headlines. Everyone wants to consult on generic business strategy because it sounds prestigious. Everyone wants to create content about motivation because the barrier to entry is low. This crowding guarantees mediocre returns. When 100 people offer the same solution, customers choose based on price, and price compression destroys profit margins. Entrepreneurs who build wealth do the opposite. They hunt for problems everyone else avoids. The messy ones, the complicated ones, the ones that make most people uncomfortable or bored. These problems have less competition, higher margins, and customers desperate for solutions because nobody else will help them. Difficult problems command premium prices. When a problem is easy to solve, customers know they have options. They can shop around. They can negotiate. They can wait for a better deal. But when a problem is genuinely difficult and only a handful of people can solve it, desperation enters the equation. Companies will pay 10 times more to fix a critical issue that nobody else can address than they will pay for a commodity service with endless alternatives. The business owner whose warehouse system keeps crashing will pay whatever it takes to fix it, because every day of downtime costs thousands. The executive facing regulatory compliance issues will hire the specialist who actually understands the obscure regulations, not the generalist offering cheaper rates. Difficulty creates value when you are the one who can navigate it. Look for problems hidden in friction points that everyone accepts as normal. Industries operate with inefficiencies that insiders stop noticing. Forms that take hours to complete. Communication systems that require 5 steps when one would work. Approval processes that delay projects by weeks. Supply chains with unnecessary intermediaries. These friction points frustrate people daily, but most accept them as unchangeable. The entrepreneur who questions why things work this way discovers opportunities. When you eliminate friction that everyone else tolerates, you create value instantly. Your solution might not be glamorous. Streamlining government permit applications is not exciting. Building software that automates insurance claims processing is not sexy, but unsexy problems with real financial impact attract serious buyers willing to pay serious money. Enter industries that seem boring to outsiders. Waste management, HVAC maintenance, industrial equipment repair, logistics coordination. These sectors lack innovation because they do not attract ambitious talent. Smart people gravitate toward technology, finance, media, industries with prestige and excitement. This leaves enormous opportunities in unglamorous sectors where customers need better solutions but cannot find them. You face weaker competition, established demand, and customers who appreciate competence because they rarely encounter it. The person who brings modern marketing to a traditional industry or applies technology to manual processes becomes instantly valuable. You are not fighting for attention in an oversaturated market. You are the only option that understands both the industry and modern solutions. Tackle problems that require multiple skill sets simultaneously. Most people specialize narrowly. They understand marketing or finance or operations, but not all three. Problems requiring cross-functional expertise get ignored because they fall between specialties. The company that needs marketing strategies accounting for complex financial constraints cannot use a pure marketer who ignores numbers or a pure accountant who ignores customer psychology. They need someone who speaks both languages. When you develop competence across multiple domains, you solve problems that single domain experts cannot touch. The overlap between skills creates rare value. You are not competing with every marketer or every accountant. You are competing with the tiny percentage who understand both deeply enough to integrate them. Seek out customers everyone else rejects as too difficult. Small businesses with limited budgets, industries with complex regulations, clients with unusual requirements, companies in transition. Most service providers want easy customers with big budgets and simple needs. They avoid situations requiring extra effort or creativity. This creates underserved markets filled with buyers who cannot find anyone willing to help them. If you design systems to serve difficult customers efficiently, You build a business without competition. The accounting firm that specializes in cryptocurrency taxation serves a market most accountants avoid. The consultant who works with non-profits navigating mergers addresses a need most consultants find too complicated. Your willingness to embrace complexity becomes your moat. Problems with regulatory complexity offer particular opportunities. Most entrepreneurs avoid heavily regulated industries because compliance seems overwhelming. Healthcare, finance, education, legal services, these sectors have barriers that protect those willing to navigate them. Once you understand the regulations, you operate in a market with limited competition because the barriers prevent new entrants. The difficulty that scares others away becomes your competitive advantage. You are not hoping competitors stay away through brand loyalty or product differentiation. The law itself restricts who can operate, and you are one of the few who figured out how. Find problems that emerge from new technology before most people understand the implications. Every technological shift creates second-order problems that take years to become obvious. Cloud computing created security and compliance challenges. Remote work created team coordination and culture problems. Artificial intelligence is creating content authenticity and job displacement issues. Social media created reputation management needs. The entrepreneurs who see these emerging problems early and build solutions before mass awareness hits establish themselves as experts in fields that barely exist yet. By the time everyone recognizes the problem, you already have experience, case studies, and market positioning. You do not fight for attention. People seek you out because you were there first. Solve problems that require confronting human psychology, not just logistics. Many problems persist because they involve difficult conversations, uncomfortable truths, or behavior change. Helping executives accept that their leadership style damages retention requires navigating ego and defensiveness. Helping families transition businesses between generations involves mediating emotional conflicts and power dynamics. Helping organizations address diversity issues means facilitating uncomfortable discussions. Most consultants avoid these situations because they are messy and emotionally taxing, but organizations will pay substantial fees to someone who can facilitate what they cannot do themselves. Your emotional intelligence and willingness to engage with human complexity become scarce and valuable. Address problems that reveal themselves only through deep industry experience. Surface-level observation misses the real pain points. You need to work in an industry, talk to dozens of people, observe operations closely, before you understand what actually causes problems versus what people think causes problems. The restaurant owner complains about food costs, but the real problem is poor inventory management. The manufacturer complains about quality control, but the real problem is inadequate employee training. The retailer complains about shrinkage, but the real problem is a flawed hiring process. When you invest time understanding an industry deeply enough to diagnose root causes instead of symptoms, you solve problems that superficial solutions never touch. Build solutions for problems with long sales cycles that test patience. Enterprise software with 18-month implementation timelines. Construction projects spanning multiple years. Government contracts requiring extensive approval processes. Most entrepreneurs want quick wins and fast revenue. They lack the patience or capital to pursue opportunities that take years to materialize. This impatience creates openings for those willing to play long-term games. The returns are larger because fewer people can wait that long. You face less competition because most people quit before reaching the payoff. Your patience becomes a competitive weapon. Pursue problems where success is measurable and directly tied to financial outcomes. Vague improvements are hard to sell. When you can prove that solving the problem saves money, generates revenue, or eliminates risk with specific numbers, customers pay eagerly. Reducing manufacturing defects by 20% saves calculable dollars. Improving inventory turnover increases measurable cash flow. Decreasing employee turnover lowers recruiting and training costs. Focus on problems where your solution creates undeniable return on investment. The customer does not need to be convinced your solution is nice to have. They can see it is essential because the math proves it. Ignore trends and focus on enduring problems. Trends attract crowds that disappear when the trend fades. Enduring problems exist decade after decade, which means solving them builds sustainable businesses. People will always need help managing finances. Businesses will always struggle with hiring. Organizations will always face communication breakdowns. Technology changes how these problems manifest, but the underlying issues remain constant. When you solve enduring problems, you build expertise that compounds. Each customer you serve teaches you more. Each solution you implement improves your methods. 10 years from now, you are still solving the same core problem, but with vastly superior capabilities. You did not chase what was hot. You mastered what mattered. The path to wealth is not found where everyone is looking. It is found in the problems they are avoiding. Train yourself to get excited about challenges that make others uncomfortable. When someone describes a problem and your first reaction is that sounds complicated, recognize that as an opportunity signal. Complexity creates value for those willing to embrace it. Start today by identifying one problem in your industry that everyone complains about but nobody fixes. That is your opening. Chapter 6. Invest time in skills that multiply wealth. Most skills add linearly to your income. Learn to use new software and you become slightly more efficient. Improve your typing speed and you save a few minutes daily. Master a new language and you access a new market. These skills have value, but they do not multiply wealth. They add small increments that disappear under the weight of time required to learn them. Entrepreneurs who accelerate wealth rapidly focus on entirely different skills. They invest in capabilities that compound, leverage, and multiply everything else they touch. These skills do not just make you better at one task. They make you better at acquiring resources, influencing decisions, scaling operations, and converting opportunities into profit. 1 hour invested in a multiplier skill returns 100 times more than 1 hour invested in an additive skill. Persuasion stands above almost every other skill because wealth flows from the ability to influence human behavior. You cannot build a business without convincing customers to buy. You cannot raise capital without persuading investors to believe in your vision. You cannot scale without recruiting talented people to join your mission. You cannot negotiate favorable terms without moving others to see value in your proposals. Every significant financial outcome requires changing someone's mind or motivating them toward action. The entrepreneur who writes compelling sales copy converts more visitors into buyers. The entrepreneur who pitches confidently secures funding others get denied. The entrepreneur who communicates vision clearly attracts employees who could work anywhere. Persuasion multiplies every other effort because it determines whether your work translates into revenue. Study copywriting, negotiation tactics, storytelling frameworks, influence psychology. These investments pay dividends across every business interaction for decades. Sales is persuasion applied directly to revenue generation. Many entrepreneurs avoid selling because they find it uncomfortable or believe their product should sell itself. This belief destroys businesses. Nothing sells itself. Even the best product requires someone to communicate its value, handle objections, build trust, and close transactions. The entrepreneur who learns to sell effectively controls their own destiny. You do not wait for customers to find you. You reach out proactively. You identify prospects who need what you offer. You start conversations that lead to purchases. You ask for the sale directly instead of hoping people volunteer to buy. Every percentage point you improve your closing rate multiplies your revenue without requiring more traffic or better products. If you close 10% of prospects now and learn to close 20%, you doubled your income with the same leads. Sales skill multiplies the value of every marketing dollar you spend and every customer conversation you have. Understanding financial statements transforms how you make business decisions. Most entrepreneurs operate on intuition and cash flow, which works until it does not. They feel busy and assume profit will follow. They see money in the bank and believe they are successful. They invest in growth without understanding unit economics. Then they wake up one day with revenue but no profit, or customers but unsustainable costs. Reading balance sheets, income statements, and cash flow reports reveals reality beneath surface appearances. You see which products actually generate margin. You identify cost centers draining resources. You spot trends before they become crises. You make decisions based on numbers instead of feelings. This skill multiplies wealth by preventing expensive mistakes and directing capital toward opportunities with real return on investment. The entrepreneur who understands financials deeply will always outperform the entrepreneur with better ideas but financial illiteracy. Marketing determines whether anyone knows your business exists. You can build an exceptional product, offer outstanding service, and charge fair prices, but if nobody discovers you, none of it matters. Marketing skill multiplies wealth by turning your capabilities into awareness, awareness into consideration, and consideration into customers. Understanding customer psychology lets you craft messages that resonate. Knowing distribution channels lets you reach audiences efficiently. Testing systematically lets you optimize conversion rates. The difference between marketing poorly and marketing well is not 10% more customers. It is 10 times more customers. When you invest in understanding how attention works, how desire forms, how trust builds, how decisions happen, you multiply the impact of everything else your business does. Your product reaches more people. Your brand becomes recognizable. Your message cuts through noise. Marketing is the multiplier between your capability and your income. Delegation and team building multiply your capacity beyond what you personally can accomplish. You have limited hours and energy. Working harder maxes out quickly. The entrepreneur stuck doing everything themselves hits a ceiling they cannot break through. But the entrepreneur who learns to hire well, train effectively, delegate appropriately, and manage people toward outcomes multiplies their impact through others. One person can serve 50 customers. A trained team of 10 can serve 1,000. Your income is no longer constrained by your personal output. It scales with your ability to build systems other people execute. This skill requires learning how to interview, how to onboard, how to create standard operating procedures, how to measure performance, how to provide feedback, how to build culture. These capabilities multiply wealth because they remove you as the bottleneck. You stop trading time for money and start orchestrating a machine that produces results whether you work today or not. Strategic thinking multiplies the value of your tactical execution. Most people work extremely hard on things that do not matter. They optimize the wrong variables. They improve the wrong processes. They focus on busy work instead of leverage points. Strategic thinking means identifying which actions produce disproportionate results, then concentrating effort there. It means recognizing when to pivot, when to persist, when to abandon a path entirely. It means understanding market dynamics, competitive positioning, customer lifetime value, and growth levers. The entrepreneur who thinks strategically might work fewer hours but accomplish exponentially more because every action aligns with high leverage objectives. This skill multiplies wealth by ensuring your hard work translates into meaningful progress instead of wasted motion. Technology literacy multiplies operational efficiency and opens distribution channels. You do not need to become a programmer, but understanding what technology can do changes what you consider possible. Automation tools let you accomplish in minutes what used to take hours. Analytics platforms reveal insights buried in data. Customer relationship management systems prevent leads from falling through cracks. E-commerce platforms let you sell globally without physical infrastructure. Social media algorithms distribute your message to thousands for free. The entrepreneur who embraces technology multiplies their reach, their efficiency, their capability. The entrepreneur who resists technology competes with one hand tied behind their back. Invest time learning which tools solve your specific problems, how to implement them properly, and how to extract maximum value from them. Communication skill multiplies your ability to align teams, clarify expectations, resolve conflicts, and maintain relationships. Misunderstandings cost time and money. Unclear instructions lead to rework. Poor communication creates friction with customers, employees, partners, and investors. The entrepreneur who communicates clearly gets better results from everyone they interact with. Instructions get followed correctly the first time. Expectations are met because they were stated explicitly. Problems get resolved quickly because difficult conversations happen directly. Employees stay engaged because they understand why their work matters. This skill multiplies wealth by reducing the inefficiency tax that unclear communication imposes on every interaction. Pattern recognition multiplies your ability to make good decisions quickly. Experienced entrepreneurs see situations and instantly know the likely outcome because they have seen similar situations before. They spot opportunities earlier because they recognize the signs. They avoid mistakes because they remember the pattern from previous failures. This skill comes from deliberate observation and reflection, not just time passing. After each business interaction, ask yourself what patterns you noticed. After each success or failure, ask what conditions led to that result. After observing competitors, ask what patterns predict their next moves. Accumulating these patterns creates a mental database that lets you navigate new situations with wisdom that feels like intuition. This multiplies wealth by improving decision quality across thousands of choices over your career. Learning how to learn multiplies the speed at which you acquire every other skill. Some people spend years becoming competent in areas others master in months. The difference is not intelligence, it is method. Effective learners break complex skills into components. They identify the 20% of the skill that produces 80% of results. They practice deliberately with immediate feedback. They seek out experts and model their approaches. They apply new knowledge immediately instead of consuming passively. This skill multiplies wealth because every other skill you need to develop gets acquired faster. You adapt to market changes more quickly. You stay ahead of competitors who learn slowly. You compress decades of experience into years through aggressive, strategic skill acquisition. Systems thinking multiplies your ability to solve root causes instead of symptoms. When something goes wrong in business, surface problems have underlying systemic causes. Customer complaints might stem from poor product design, inadequate training, or misaligned incentives. Revenue fluctuations might result from seasonal patterns, marketing channel dependence, or customer concentration. The entrepreneur who treats symptoms wastes his energy on temporary fixes. The entrepreneur who identifies systemic causes solves problems permanently. This skill multiplies wealth by ensuring improvements last and by preventing the same problems from recurring in new forms. Stop learning skills because they sound impressive or everyone else is learning them. Start learning skills that multiply the value of your time, your decisions, your team, and your opportunities. Every hour you invest in persuasion, sales, financial literacy, marketing, delegation, strategic thinking, technology, communication, pattern recognition, learning itself, and systems thinking pays dividends that compound throughout your entire career. These are not skills you master once. They are capabilities you deepen continuously, and each level of mastery unlocks new wealth multiplication that was previously invisible to you. Chapter 7. Create multiple income streams starting from scratch. Relying on a single income source is the financial equivalent of walking a tightrope without a net. One client leaves, and your revenue collapses. One platform changes its algorithm, and your traffic disappears. One market shift, and your entire business model becomes obsolete. This vulnerability keeps you in survival mode, constantly worried about protecting your one source of money instead of growing wealth. Entrepreneurs who build real security and accelerate wealth creation deliberately construct multiple income streams. Not because they are greedy, but because diversification creates stability, opportunity, and freedom. When money flows from 5 different sources, losing one hurts but does not destroy you. When income arrives through different mechanisms, you learn which models work best and double down on winners. When revenue comes from varied activities, you create options that single-income entrepreneurs never have. Start with what you already know instead of inventing entirely new businesses. You possess knowledge, skills, and experience right now that people will pay for in different formats. If you work in marketing, your first income stream might be client work, but your second could be teaching what you know through online courses. Your third could be affiliate commissions recommending tools you already use. Your fourth could be a paid newsletter sharing weekly insights. Your fifth could be templates and resources you sell to people doing similar work. Same expertise, 5 revenue channels. You are not building 5 separate businesses from scratch. You are packaging one area of competence into multiple monetizable formats. This approach lets you create diversification quickly without diluting your focus or learning completely new domains. The simplest second income stream is often taking what you do for clients and productizing it. If you consult on a specific problem repeatedly, record your process into a course or guide. If you create custom deliverables for each client, turn your best templates into products others can purchase. If you solve the same technical problem for multiple customers, build a software tool that automates the solution. Productization lets you serve more people without multiplying your time investment. Client work pays well but scales poorly. Products pay less per transaction but scale infinitely. Having both means you capture high-ticket revenue from custom work while building passive income from product sales. The client work funds your life today. The product income builds wealth over time. Affiliate marketing adds income without creating products or handling customer service. Identify tools, software, books, or services you genuinely use and recommend anyway. Sign up for their affiliate programs. Share them naturally within your content, emails, and conversations. Include affiliate links in resource pages, tutorials, comparison articles, and recommendation lists. When people purchase through your links, you earn commissions. This works because you are not inventing new recommendations. You are simply monetizing endorsements you were already making. The key is authenticity. Only promote what you actually use and believe solves real problems. Your audience trusts your judgment, and violating that trust for short-term commissions destroys long-term credibility. Done well, affiliate income flows from content you create once that continues generating clicks and purchases for months or years. Consulting adds high-value income to complement other streams. Once you establish expertise through content, products, or reputation, some people will want personalized guidance that generic solutions cannot provide. They face unique situations requiring custom strategies. They need accountability and direct access to your thinking. They will pay premium rates for your time and attention. Consulting requires no inventory, no complicated infrastructure, no team. Your knowledge is the product. Schedule calls, solve specific problems, collect payment. This stream scales poorly because time is finite, but it generates cash flow that funds building more scalable streams. The consulting client who pays $5,000 this month subsidizes the course creation that will eventually replace consulting income. Hosting paid events or workshops creates intense revenue bursts from concentrated value delivery. Gather people facing similar challenges, teach them your methodology over 1 or 2 days. Charge a premium for the immersive experience. Events convert knowledge into high-ticket income because the in-person format commands higher prices than digital alternatives. Attendees pay for networking, focused attention, immediate feedback, and accountability that online options cannot match. Run quarterly workshops and you add 4 significant revenue events to your year without ongoing operational complexity. Events also serve secondary purposes. They build deep relationships with customers who become advocates. They generate testimonials and case studies. They identify potential consulting clients who want more personalized support. Building a community with membership fees creates predictable recurring revenue. Communities work when people face ongoing challenges requiring continued support, fresh ideas, and connection with others navigating similar journeys. Create a private space where members access exclusive content, participate in discussions, attend live sessions, and network with peers. Charge monthly or annually. The value compounds over time as the community matures, relationships deepen, and collective wisdom accumulates. Unlike products purchased once, membership income recurs monthly. 100 members paying $50 creates $5,000 in monthly revenue that persists until members cancel. Growing the community to 500 members quintuples revenue without quintupling your effort because the community itself provides much of the value through peer interaction. Sponsorships and brand partnerships add income when you build an audience. Companies will pay to reach people who trust your recommendations. Podcast sponsorships, newsletter advertisements, sponsored content on social media, brand ambassadorships. The rates depend on audience size and engagement, but even modest audiences attract sponsors if the audience is targeted and engaged. A newsletter with 3,000 subscribers in a specific professional niche might command $2,000 per sponsorship, because those subscribers represent concentrated access to a valuable market. This income stream requires building audience first, but once established, sponsors often approach you without outreach effort. You monetize attention you already have without creating new products or services. Royalties from intellectual property create income from past creative work. Write a book and earn royalties on each sale for years. Create stock photography or video footage and earn licensing fees every time someone uses it. Compose music and collect royalties when it plays. Develop courses and host them on platforms that pay you a percentage of revenue. Design templates and sell them on marketplaces. Build plugins or extensions and charge for downloads. The work happens once but generates income repeatedly. You are not trading current hours for current dollars. You are investing hours today that pay you next month, next year, next decade. This stream starts slowly but compounds as you create more intellectual property and as existing work continues finding new buyers. Offering premium versions of existing services adds income without acquiring new customers. You already serve customers at one price point. Some percentage would pay significantly more for upgraded experiences, faster delivery, more personalized attention, exclusive access, additional features. Premium options let you capture more value from customers who need and can afford higher service levels. This stream requires minimal additional infrastructure. You are already doing the work. You just create a tiered structure that lets customers choose their level of investment. The premium tier might serve fewer people but generates higher profit margins because the incremental cost of delivering premium service is often much lower than the premium price charged. Brokering connections adds income by facilitating transactions between parties you already know. You meet people with problems and people with solutions constantly. Introduce them strategically and negotiate a finder's fee or commission. This works in almost any industry. Connect businesses needing specific talent with qualified candidates and earn recruitment fees. Introduce investors to entrepreneurs seeking capital and negotiate equity or cash compensation. Match service providers with clients needing their expertise and receive referral payments. You are not creating products or delivering services. You are leveraging relationships and information to facilitate value exchanges. The income requires no inventory, minimal time, and scales with the size of your network. Licensing your brand or methodology to others lets them use what you built in exchange for fees. Create a proven system for achieving results. Document it thoroughly. Train others to deliver it using your framework, your materials, your branding. They pay you licensing fees or revenue shares for the right to operate under your established brand. This works for coaching methodologies, training programs, consulting frameworks, or any proven process that others can replicate. You multiply your impact through other people delivering your system while collecting income from their success. The stream requires strong intellectual property and a methodology that produces consistent results. But once established, licensing scales dramatically without increasing your operational burden. Creating proprietary data or research adds income by selling access to information others cannot easily obtain. Conduct original surveys in your industry. Aggregate and analyze data from multiple sources. Produce benchmark reports showing how companies compare to industry standards. Package these insights into reports, databases, or subscription services. Organizations pay for information that helps them make better decisions. If you gather data nobody else compiles or analyze it in ways others do not, that information becomes a valuable asset. This stream requires upfront research investment, but can generate recurring revenue as customers need updated data regularly or as new customers discover your research. Do not attempt to launch all these streams simultaneously. That guarantees shallow execution across everything and mastery of nothing. Start with your primary income source. Once stable and systematized, add one additional stream. Master it until it generates meaningful revenue. Then add another. This sequential approach builds multiple streams without fragmenting your attention. Each new stream benefits from the audience, reputation, and infrastructure you built serving the previous streams. Your second stream launches faster than your first because you already have visibility. Your third launches faster than your second because you understand diversification strategies. Within 3 years of deliberate sequential building, you can operate 5 income streams that together generate more money with less vulnerability than your single stream ever provided. Chapter 8. Think 10 years ahead while acting today. Most entrepreneurs live inside a 30-day window. They obsess over this month's revenue. They panic about this week's problems. They celebrate this quarter's wins. This short-sightedness guarantees mediocrity because the best opportunities require years to materialize. Real wealth compounds over decades, not months. Brands build through consistent effort spanning years. Expertise deepens through thousands of hours accumulated over time. Networks strengthen through relationships maintained across seasons. The entrepreneur stuck in short-term thinking chases quick money, abandons strategies before they mature, and constantly restarts instead of compounding. The entrepreneur who thinks 10 years ahead while acting today builds assets that appreciate, makes investments that multiply, and creates momentum that becomes unstoppable. 10-year thinking changes which opportunities you pursue. A business that makes fast money but teaches you nothing loses to a business that breaks even initially but develops skills you will use for decades. A client who pays well today but drains your energy loses to a client who pays moderately but introduces you to an industry you want to dominate. A product that generates immediate revenue but has no expansion potential loses to a product that starts slowly but opens multiple future monetization paths. When you evaluate decisions through a 10-year lens, obvious short-term wins often reveal themselves as long-term traps. The choice that seems harder today frequently proves smarter across time. Begin by defining your 10-year vision with uncomfortable specificity. Vague dreams accomplish nothing. I want to be successful means nothing. I want to build a $50 million business serving mid-market healthcare companies with compliance software, employ a team of 40, operate remotely from 3 global offices, and work 4 days weekly means everything. Specificity forces you to confront what you actually want versus what sounds impressive. It reveals whether your vision excites you enough to sustain effort across years. It provides criteria for evaluating today's decisions. Does this opportunity move you toward that specific vision or distract from it? The clearer your destination, the easier to recognize paths that lead there versus paths that merely look productive. Reverse engineer your 10-year vision into milestones at 7 years, 5 years, 3 years, 1 year, and this quarter. If you want a $50 million business in 10 years, you likely need $10 million in 7 years, $3 million in 5 years, $1 million in 3 years, and $200,000 in 1 year. Work backward through every metric. Revenue, customers, team size, market presence, product offerings. This reverse engineering reveals whether your daily actions align with necessary progress. If you need $200,000 in revenue next year, but your current activities would generate $50,000, you face a gap that requires immediate strategic changes. The 10-year vision exposes flawed assumptions before you waste years pursuing them. Invest aggressively in assets that appreciate over time rather than expenses that disappear. Your reputation is an appreciating asset. Every piece of quality work, every satisfied customer, every kept promise increases its value. Your skills are appreciating assets when you choose them wisely. Persuasion, strategic thinking, and leadership grow more valuable as you deepen them. Your network is an appreciating asset when you maintain relationships and add value consistently. 10 years of relationship building creates opportunities that cannot be purchased. Your intellectual property is an appreciating asset when you document your methods, create content, and build frameworks. These investments might not pay this month, but they compound relentlessly. The entrepreneur who spends today building appreciating assets will be exponentially wealthier in 10 years than the entrepreneur who chased immediate returns from depreciating activities. Make decisions that narrow your focus over time instead of expanding it. Early in your journey, you explore broadly because you do not know what works. You try multiple markets, test different products, experiment with various strategies. But as you gather data about what succeeds, deliberately narrow your focus to exploit proven advantages. The business that tries to serve everyone serves no one well. The entrepreneur who chases every opportunity builds nothing substantial. 10-year success comes from becoming exceptional at something specific. This requires saying no to 90 opportunities so you can say yes to the 10 that align with your long-term vision. Discipline about what you will not do matters more than enthusiasm about possibilities. Build infrastructure that scales beyond your current size. Your systems should accommodate 10 times your current volume without breaking. Your processes should work for a team of 50 even though you only employ 5. Your technology should handle 1 million users even though you serve 1,000. This prevents the painful rebuilding that stops momentum when you grow. Companies that scale smoothly built infrastructure ahead of immediate needs. Companies that stall repeatedly built only for current reality, then spent months rebuilding when growth arrived. The extra investment today in robust systems pays exponential returns when growth accelerates, and you can handle it seamlessly instead of collapsing under success. Document everything you do as if teaching someone to replace you. 10 years from now, you will not be doing the work you do today. You will be 3 or 4 levels up the value chain, but the work you do today still needs to happen, performed by people you hire. If everything lives in your head, you become irreplaceable, which sounds good but actually traps you. You cannot scale beyond yourself. Document your processes, record your reasoning, create templates for recurring tasks, build training materials. This documentation becomes the foundation for delegation, systematization, and eventually selling your business if you choose. The hours you invest documenting today multiply into thousands of saved hours when you train employees who replicate your work. Choose battles that become easier with time instead of harder. Some competitive advantages strengthen as you use them. Brand recognition increases with consistent presence. Customer loyalty deepens through repeated positive experiences. Operational efficiency improves as systems mature. These advantages compound, meaning your first year is your hardest and your 10th year is exponentially easier. Other competitive advantages deteriorate over time. Competing on price triggers races to the bottom. Competing on working harder than competitors burns you out. Competing on personal relationships hits capacity limits. The 10-year winner chooses advantages that compound rather than deplete. Plant trees today whose shade you will enjoy in a decade. Content you create now will attract customers years later. Relationships you nurture today will open opportunities in 5 years. Skills you build this year will multiply your effectiveness in 3 years. Investments you make in systems, brand, and infrastructure will pay dividends long after you forgot making them. Most people never plant these trees because the payoff feels too distant. They want fruit today from seeds planted yesterday. This impatience keeps them perpetually starting over, constantly looking for quick wins, never building anything that lasts. The 10-year thinker accepts delayed gratification because they understand compound returns dwarf immediate payoffs. Track leading indicators that predict long-term outcomes rather than lagging indicators that report what already happened. Revenue is a lagging indicator. It tells you what you earned from work you did months ago. Customer acquisition is a leading indicator. It predicts future revenue from relationships you are building now. Followers are a lagging indicator. They report attention you already captured. Engagement rate is a leading indicator. It predicts whether your audience will grow or stagnate. Focus your daily attention on the metrics that predict your future rather than the metrics that report your past. If your leading indicators trend positive, strong lagging indicators will follow inevitably. If your leading indicators stagnate, no amount of celebrating current revenue changes your trajectory. Develop patience for germination periods while maintaining urgency about execution. Seeds do not become trees overnight. Businesses do not reach maturity instantly. Expertise does not appear from single efforts. You need patience for the natural timeline of growth, but patience about outcomes does not mean passivity about actions. Execute with daily urgency. Work intensely on activities that feed long-term vision. Ship products quickly. Test assumptions rapidly. Iterate based on feedback. Learn aggressively. The combination of patient vision and urgent execution creates unstoppable momentum. You are not desperately chasing short-term results. You are not passively waiting for success to find you. You are deliberately building toward a specific future through intensive daily action. Surround yourself with people operating on 10-year timelines. Most people will not understand why you decline immediate opportunities for long-term positioning. They will question why you invest in infrastructure that does not pay yet. They will suggest you are overthinking instead of just making money now. Distance yourself from these voices. Find advisors, mentors, and peers who think in decades. They will validate your patience. They will share strategies for staying focused when results lag behind effort. They will remind you that compound returns arrive suddenly after years of invisible progress. The right peer group sustains 10-year thinking when everyone else pressures you toward quarterly thinking. Accept that your 10-year vision will evolve as you learn more. This does not invalidate long-term thinking. It means you adjust your destination as you gather better information. The entrepreneur who planned to build a consulting firm might discover productization suits their temperament better. The entrepreneur targeting one industry might find greater opportunity in an adjacent space. Evolution is not failure. Stubbornly pursuing an outdated vision despite contradictory evidence is failure. Think 10 years ahead, but remain open to course corrections as reality teaches you which paths actually lead to your desired outcomes. The vision provides direction. New information refines the route. Both are necessary. Stop living inside the 30-day window. Lift your eyes to the horizon. Imagine yourself 10 years from today. What do you want to have built? Who do you want to have become? What do you want your daily reality to look like? Now reverse engineer that vision into today's actions. What must you do this quarter to stay on path? What must you do today? The answer to that question is where 10-year thinking meets daily execution. That intersection is where wealth gets built. Chapter 9. Automate repetitive tasks to focus on growth. Your time has vastly different values depending on how you spend it. An hour answering routine emails generates zero new revenue. An hour developing a new product line could generate millions over the next 5 years. An hour scheduling social media posts maintains current visibility. An hour building strategic partnerships could double your distribution. Yet most entrepreneurs spend the majority of their time on low-value repetitive tasks because these tasks feel urgent and concrete, while high-value activities feel abstract and can be postponed. This allocation destroys wealth. Every hour you spend on work a $15 per hour employee could handle is an hour not spent on work only you can do. Automation is not about laziness. It is about ruthlessly protecting your time for the activities that actually multiply wealth. Audit your week by tracking every task in 15-minute increments for 7 days. Write down everything: checking emails, posting on social media, invoicing clients, scheduling appointments, responding to customer questions, updating spreadsheets. Whatever you do, log it. At the end of 7 days, categorize every activity into 4 groups. Tasks only you can do that directly generate revenue or growth. Tasks only you can do that are necessary but do not directly generate money. Tasks someone else could do with proper systems. Tasks that should not be done at all. Most entrepreneurs discover they spend 70% of their time on tasks someone else could handle and 10% on tasks that create no value whatsoever. This audit reveals exactly where automation needs to happen. Start with email, because it devours more entrepreneurial time than almost any other activity. The average person checks email 15 times daily and spends 28% of their workweek managing it. Stop treating your inbox like a real-time communication channel. Check email 3 times daily at scheduled intervals. Use filters and folders to automatically sort messages by category. Create templates for frequently sent responses. Use tools that schedule emails to send later so you batch composition instead of sending individually. Unsubscribe ruthlessly from anything you have not read in 30 days. The goal is not inbox zero. The goal is reducing email from an all-day distraction to a managed task consuming 1 hour total. Those saved hours multiply across every week forever. Social media posting consumes enormous time if you do it manually throughout the day. Schedule content in bulk using tools that post automatically across platforms. Dedicate 2 hours monthly to creating and scheduling an entire month of posts. Write them all in one session. Upload the content. Schedule the times. Then ignore social media except for 15 minutes daily responding to comments and messages. This transforms social media from a time sink requiring multiple daily logins into a systematized activity that runs automatically. You maintain presence and consistency without sacrificing hours that should be spent on revenue-generating work. Invoicing and payment collection should require zero manual effort. Integrate payment processing that automatically charges customers when services are delivered or products purchased. Set up recurring billing for subscription services. Use software that automatically sends invoices on specific dates, follows up on unpaid invoices, and processes payments when received. Your involvement should be limited to reviewing reports showing who paid and who did not. Chasing payments manually wastes time and damages relationships. Automated systems handle it professionally without your intervention. Appointment scheduling is another massive time drain that technology solves completely. Stop playing email tennis trying to find mutually available times. Use scheduling software that syncs with your calendar and lets people book available slots directly. They see your availability, choose a time that works for them, and the appointment appears on both calendars automatically with confirmation emails sent to both parties. You eliminate a dozen back and forth messages per appointment. Multiply that by every meeting you schedule monthly and you reclaim hours. Customer onboarding should be entirely automated from welcome to completion. When someone becomes a customer, trigger an automated sequence that sends welcome emails, delivers initial resources, schedules check-in messages, requests feedback at appropriate intervals, and provides ongoing value. New customers receive a consistent, high-quality experience without you manually managing each relationship. This matters increasingly as you scale. You can deliver excellent onboarding to 1,000 customers as easily as to 10 because the system handles it. Repetitive data entry destroys both time and accuracy. Integrate your tools so data flows automatically between systems. When someone purchases on your website, their information should automatically populate your customer database, your email marketing system, and your accounting software without you copying and pasting anything. When someone fills out a form, the data should automatically create a task in your project management system and send notifications to relevant team members. Manual data transfer between systems is inexcusable given modern integration capabilities. Spend a weekend connecting your tools properly and eliminate hours of weekly data entry permanently. Reporting and analytics should be automated dashboards you glance at rather than spreadsheets you manually compile. Set up automated reports that compile key metrics and email them to you daily or weekly. Revenue, expenses, traffic, conversions, customer counts, whatever matters to your business, automate its tracking and reporting. You should see current performance in under 30 seconds without opening multiple tools and manually calculating anything. This automation serves two purposes. It saves time and it makes you more likely to actually review the metrics because accessing them requires no effort. Customer support for frequently asked questions should not require your personal attention. Create a comprehensive knowledge base that answers common questions thoroughly. Use chatbots that can handle routine inquiries and only escalate complex issues to humans. Record video tutorials that walk customers through common processes step by step. Build FAQ pages that address the questions you receive repeatedly. Each resource you create handles that question forever without your involvement. The customer who can find answers instantly without waiting for your reply becomes more satisfied while consuming 0 minutes of your day. Content repurposing should happen automatically across channels. Record a video and automatically generate the audio file, a transcript, social media clips, quote graphics, and a blog post from the same source material. This used to require hours of manual work. Now tools extract maximum value from single content creation efforts. You speak for 30 minutes and automatically generate content for 6 platforms without touching the repurposing process. Your content output multiplies while your creation time stays constant. Hiring and screening candidates for your team should have automated initial stages. Create an application form that asks specific qualifying questions. Set up automated email responses for applicants who meet basic criteria versus those who do not. Use assessment tools that automatically test relevant skills before anyone spends time reviewing applications. Only the candidates who pass automated screening reach your personal attention. This protects your time from reviewing hundreds of unqualified applicants while ensuring qualified candidates get proper consideration. Financial tracking should not involve manually entering transactions into spreadsheets. Connect your business bank accounts and credit cards to accounting software that automatically imports and categorizes transactions. Set rules so recurring expenses automatically get coded correctly. Your bookkeeping happens in real time without manual entry. You still review monthly to ensure accuracy, but the heavy lifting occurs automatically. Follow-up sequences after meetings, purchases, or inquiries should trigger automatically based on actions taken. Someone downloads your lead magnet, they automatically receive a sequence of emails. Someone attends your webinar, they automatically receive a replay link and related resources. Someone makes a purchase, they automatically receive thank you messages, product tips, and requests for reviews at appropriate intervals. You design these sequences once and they run indefinitely, ensuring no opportunity falls through cracks because you forgot to follow up. Backup and data protection should happen without your conscious thought. Automated cloud backups run daily or hourly, preserving your work without you remembering to do it. If disaster strikes, you restore from the most recent backup and lose minimal work. The entrepreneur who manually backs up data inevitably forgets until catastrophe teaches the expensive lesson. Automate it once and never worry about data loss again. Project management and task tracking benefit from automation around recurring workflows. When a new client signs, automatically create the standard project tasks, assign them to appropriate team members, and set deadlines based on the contract start date. When a blog post gets published, automatically create associated promotion tasks across team members. These workflow automations ensure consistency and completeness without manually creating the same task lists repeatedly. Expense approvals and reimbursements should follow automated workflows. Employees submit expenses through a system that routes them to appropriate approvers based on amount and category. Approved expenses automatically process payment and update accounting records. This eliminates piles of receipts and manual approval emails while maintaining proper controls. The resistance to automation usually comes from 3 places: the false belief that automation is expensive, the fear that automation is complicated, the illusion that manual work gives you control. Address each directly. Most automation tools cost less than $50 monthly, far less than the value of time they save. Modern automation requires no technical skills. Most tools provide templates and guides that let you set up automations in under an hour. Manual work does not give you control. It gives you busy work that prevents you from exercising real control over strategic direction. Automation frees you to focus on decisions that actually determine success or failure. Start with one repetitive task this week. Choose the single most time-consuming recurring activity you perform. Research tools that automate it. Implement one solution. Next week, automate another task. Within 3 months, you will have automated 20 tasks that collectively consume 20 hours weekly. Those 1,000 hours annually become available for activities that multiply wealth instead of maintaining operations. That is the difference between staying small and scaling rapidly. Chapter 10. Develop resilience through calculated risk-taking daily. Resilience is not something you are born with. It is something you build through repeated exposure to situations that test you. The entrepreneur who avoids discomfort, who plays safe, who never puts themselves in positions where things might go wrong develops no resilience at all. When inevitable adversity arrives, they crumble because they have no reference point for handling difficulty. The entrepreneur who deliberately takes calculated risks daily builds immunity to fear. They learn that bad outcomes do not destroy them. They discover they can handle rejection, loss, and disappointment far better than their anxious mind predicted. Each risk survived adds to a growing reservoir of confidence that says, "I have faced worse than this and came through it." That confidence becomes the foundation for taking bigger risks that unlock bigger rewards. Calculated risk differs fundamentally from reckless gambling. Reckless risk ignores downside consequences, operates without information, and bets resources you cannot afford to lose. Calculated risk assesses potential downside, operates on the best available information, and risks only what you can survive losing. The entrepreneur who quits their job with no savings, no customers, and no plan is gambling. The entrepreneur who builds a side business to $30,000 in annual revenue, saves 6 months of expenses, then transitions full-time is taking calculated risk. Both involve uncertainty, but one has thought through failure scenarios and prepared accordingly, while the other hopes everything works out. Start taking small calculated risks immediately to build your risk tolerance muscle. Reach out to someone influential you admire and ask for 15 minutes of their time. The downside is they ignore you or say no. The upside is a relationship that could change your trajectory. Publish an idea publicly before you have refined it perfectly. The downside is some people disagree or criticize. The upside is feedback that improves your thinking and visibility, that attracts opportunities. Launch a minimum version of your product before building every planned feature. The downside is early customers encounter limitations. The upside is real market feedback that prevents building the wrong thing. These small risks cost you nothing financially and hurt only ego if they fail, but they train you to act despite fear. Track your risk-taking to ensure you are actually practicing. Most people believe they take more risks than they actually do. Write down every calculated risk you take daily. Asked someone for help. Pitched a new idea to a potential client. Published content that could receive criticism. Invested money in learning something new. Applied for an opportunity you might not get. At the end of each week, count them. If you took fewer than 10 calculated risks, you are playing too safe. Increase the number deliberately. Resilience builds through volume of exposure, not through occasional dramatic bets. 10 small risks weekly build more capability than 1 big risk monthly, because the repetition teaches your nervous system that risk is normal, not exceptional. Define your personal risk parameters so you know which risks to take. For financial risks, decide what percentage of your capital you are willing to lose on any single bet. 5%, 10%, 20%. Once you establish the boundary, you can take risks confidently within it, knowing that even total loss will not devastate you. For reputation risks, decide which audiences you care about protecting your reputation with versus which audiences you accept might misunderstand you. For time risks, decide how many hours you will invest in unproven opportunities before requiring validation. These parameters create guardrails that let you take risks aggressively without crossing into recklessness. Separate reversible from irreversible risks and treat them differently. Reversible risks can be undone if they fail. Hiring someone is reversible through firing if needed. Launching a product is reversible through discontinuation if it does not sell. Most business risks are reversible, meaning you can course correct after seeing results. Take these risks quickly with minimal deliberation. Irreversible risks cannot be undone. Selling your company is irreversible. Burning a bridge with a major partner is irreversible. These risks deserve careful analysis and deliberation. The mistake most entrepreneurs make is treating reversible risks like irreversible ones, analyzing them to death when they should be testing them quickly. Build financial buffers that expand your risk-taking capacity. The entrepreneur living paycheck to paycheck cannot afford to experiment, because every risk threatens their survival. The entrepreneur with 12 months of expenses saved can test multiple business ideas, knowing that even total failure leaves them secure. Your buffer determines how aggressive you can be. When you have no buffer, you must play safe, take jobs you dislike, serve customers who drain you, and avoid opportunities that could fail. When you have substantial buffers, you can turn down work that does not align with your vision, invest in long-term plays that might not pay immediately, and pursue opportunities that excite you even if success is not guaranteed. Save aggressively to buy yourself freedom to take meaningful risks. Analyze your past risks to improve future risk assessment. After each calculated risk, record what you predicted would happen versus what actually happened. Most people discover they overestimate downside probability and underestimate their ability to handle bad outcomes. The client you feared would reject you said yes. The person you thought would criticize your idea shared it with their network. The product you worried nobody would buy generated sales immediately. When you document these discrepancies repeatedly, you start trusting yourself to take bigger risks because your track record proves your fears exaggerate danger. You also learn which risks genuinely merit caution based on evidence rather than anxiety. Seek out situations specifically designed to test your resilience. Sign up for challenges that push your limits. Commit publicly to goals that scare you. Enter competitions where you might lose. Volunteer for presentations to audiences who intimidate you. Join accountability groups where you must report progress weekly. These structured pressure situations compress risk, taking practice into intense periods that accelerate resilience building. Athletes train under pressure that mimics competition, so they perform when stakes are real. Entrepreneurs should do the same, deliberately creating high-pressure scenarios in controlled environments so real business pressure feels manageable. Reframe failure as data collection rather than personal defeat. When a risk does not work out, your resilience determines whether you quit or iterate. The entrepreneur who views failure as proof they are inadequate will stop taking risks. The entrepreneur who views failure as information about what does not work will adjust and try again. This reframe is not positive thinking. It is accurate thinking. Failed experiments reveal which approaches do not work, which is valuable information that moves you closer to approaches that do work. The entrepreneur who fails 10 times and learns 10 lessons is 10 steps closer to success than the entrepreneur who avoided risk and learned nothing. Surround yourself with people who take calculated risks regularly. Risk tolerance is social. When everyone around you plays safe, taking risks feels dangerous and irresponsible. When everyone around you tests new ideas constantly, taking risks feels normal and necessary. Join entrepreneurial communities where members share both successes and failures. Participate in masterminds where people discuss risks they are taking and results they are seeing. Follow entrepreneurs who document their journey transparently, including what does not work. This exposure normalizes risk-taking and provides models for how to do it intelligently. Celebrate risks taken regardless of outcome. Most people only celebrate successful risks, which teaches your brain that risk is only valuable when it succeeds. This makes future risk-taking harder because you fear the absence of celebration that comes with failure. Instead, celebrate the courage to take the risk itself. You reached out to someone intimidating. Celebrate that you overcame fear regardless of their response. You launched before feeling ready. Celebrate that you shipped instead of perfecting endlessly. You invested in learning something new. Celebrate that you prioritized growth over comfort. This practice trains your brain to associate risk-taking with positive feelings, making it easier to take the next risk. Increase risk magnitude gradually as your capacity grows. The risks you take in year 1 should be smaller than the risks you take in year 5. As your financial buffers grow, your network expands, and your skills deepen. You can tolerate bigger potential losses in exchange for bigger potential gains. The entrepreneur with 10,000 in savings cannot risk 5,000 on an unproven idea. The entrepreneur with 100,000 in savings can risk 20,000, knowing they can recover if it fails. The entrepreneur with $1 million can make $100,000 bets that could return 10 times if successful. Scale your risks to your capacity, but ensure you are always operating at the edge of your comfort zone rather than safely inside it. Understand that avoiding risk is itself a risk. The entrepreneur who never launches because they fear criticism risks obscurity. The entrepreneur who never raises prices because they fear losing customers risks poverty. The entrepreneur who never hires because they fear managing people risks burnout. Playing safe feels like risk avoidance, but actually guarantees slow failure through stagnation. Markets change, competitors emerge, opportunities disappear. Standing still while everything around you moves is not safety. It is guaranteed obsolescence. The safest long-term strategy is building the capability to handle risk successfully through consistent practice. Document your risk wins to build evidence of your capability. Keep a journal of every calculated risk that paid off. The client who said yes after you reached out nervously. The revenue generated from a product you almost did not launch. The partnership formed because you initiated conversation. The speaking opportunity gained because you applied despite imposter syndrome. When fear tries to stop you from taking future risks, review this evidence. Your past proves your capability. You have succeeded before despite fear. You will succeed again. This evidence-based confidence is unshakable because it rests on facts rather than hope. The path to wealth requires taking risks that most people avoid. Those who succeed are not fearless. They simply built resilience through daily practice that makes fear manageable instead of paralyzing. Start today. Take one calculated risk right now. Send the message. Publish the idea. Make the offer. Launch the product. Your resilience begins building the moment you act despite discomfort. By this time next year, you will look back amazed at how much bolder you have become simply through consistent practice of calculated risk-taking. Chapter 11. Master persuasion to sell any idea effectively. Every significant outcome in business depends on your ability to change minds. You need investors to believe in your vision enough to fund it. You need customers to choose your solution over alternatives. You need talented people to join your team instead of working elsewhere. You need partners to collaborate with you instead of your competitors. You need media to cover your story instead of ignoring it. None of these people owe you anything. They have limited attention, competing priorities, and natural skepticism toward new claims. Persuasion is the bridge between your goals and other people's actions. Without it, you sit alone with great ideas that die because nobody understood their value or felt compelled to act on them. Persuasion begins with understanding that people do not buy what you offer. They buy what they believe it will do for them. The mistake most entrepreneurs make is describing features and expecting others to extrapolate benefits. They say, "Our software has real-time analytics," and wonder why nobody cares. The persuasive entrepreneur translates every feature into a specific outcome the other person desires. You will know exactly which marketing channels generate profit, so you stop wasting money on ads that do not work. Same product, completely different impact. One focuses on what you built, the other focuses on what they gain. People care infinitely more about their problems than your solutions until you explicitly connect the two. Study your audience before attempting persuasion. What keeps them awake at night? What metrics do they care about most? What has failed for them in the past? What objections have they raised to similar offerings? The entrepreneur who walks into a pitch without this knowledge relies on luck. The entrepreneur who researched thoroughly tailors every point to land on receptive ground. If you know your prospect got burned by a vendor who promised results but delivered excuses, you lead with accountability systems and guarantees. If you know they obsess over return on investment, you lead with financial projections and payback periods. Generic pitches get generic responses. Personalized persuasion that addresses specific concerns gets decisions. Structure your persuasion around problems, not products. Start by articulating the problem so accurately that your audience feels understood at a deep level. Describe their pain with specificity that proves you have lived in their world or studied it intensely. Only after they nod in recognition and think, "Wise, exactly," do you introduce your solution. This sequence matters psychologically. When you lead with solutions before establishing the problem, people tune out because they do not yet feel the need for what you offer. When you establish the problem first and get agreement that it matters, they lean forward wanting to hear how you solve it. Problem articulation creates the urgency that makes solutions valuable. Use stories over statistics whenever possible. Data proves your point to the logical mind, but stories persuade the emotional mind, and emotions drive decisions more than logic does. The entrepreneur who says, "Our customers see an average of 43% revenue increase," provides a fact. The entrepreneur who says, "Sarah was 3 months from shutting down her business when she implemented our system. Within 90 days, her revenue jumped 60%, and last month she hired 2 employees she thought she would never afford," creates a character the audience roots for and a transformation they want to experience. Statistics inform, stories inspire. Use both, but lead with stories because they open minds that data alone cannot penetrate. Handle objections before they are raised. Every audience has predictable concerns. It costs too much. It takes too long. It will not work for our specific situation. We tried something similar before and it failed. Instead of waiting for these objections to derail your pitch, address them proactively. You might wonder how this works for businesses with limited budgets. Here is exactly how we structured pricing to be accessible even if you are just starting. By naming and answering objections before they are spoken, you demonstrate you understand their perspective and you remove barriers to agreement. Unaddressed objections fester. Proactively handled objections disappear. Social proof removes risk from decisions. People trust the judgment of others like them more than they trust marketing claims. When you can show that respected peers already chose you and succeeded, persuasion becomes dramatically easier. The investor considering funding you wants to see other credible investors already involved. The customer considering buying wants to see testimonials from people in their industry. The employee considering joining wants to know talented people already work there. Collect and deploy social proof systematically. Request testimonials from every satisfied customer. Document case studies showing measurable results. Display logos of recognizable clients prominently. Social proof does not replace your argument, but it validates it with third-party credibility that your own claims cannot provide. Contrast creates clarity about value. When you present one option in isolation, people struggle to assess whether it is good. When you present it alongside alternatives, the differences make value obvious. Show them 3 pricing tiers where the middle option is clearly the best value compared to the basic and premium versions. Show them what life looks like with your solution versus without it. Show them what your competitors offer versus what you provide. Contrast helps people make decisions by making relative value visible. Without contrast, everything seems expensive, risky. With contrast, the right choice becomes self-evident. Ask for the decision explicitly. Most pitches end with ambiguity because the presenter fears rejection and hopes the audience will volunteer to move forward. They finish their presentation and say something passive like, "So, what do you think?" This invites delays and non-committal responses. Persuasive entrepreneurs ask directly for what they want. Based on everything we discussed, I recommend we start with the 6-month engagement beginning next week. Can you commit to that timeline? Direct asks create binary outcomes, yes or no. Even a no gives you information about what prevents agreement, which you can then address. Ambiguous endings produce maybes that waste everyone's time. Listen more than you talk during persuasive conversations. The amateur salesperson dominates the conversation, delivering a monologue about their offering while the prospect sits passively. The master persuader asks questions that reveal what matters most to the other person, then shapes their pitch around those priorities. You cannot persuade someone whose motivations you do not understand. Ask what they have tried before. Ask what success looks like to them. Ask what concerns they have about moving forward. Ask what would need to be true for them to say yes. Their answers tell you exactly what your pitch must address. Persuasion is not convincing someone to want what you have. It is showing someone that what you have solves what they already want. Build credibility through competent signals before making your ask. People say yes to those they perceive as experts. Demonstrate expertise through how you analyze their situation, the questions you ask, the insights you share, and the depth of knowledge you display. The consultant who diagnoses problems the prospect did not know they had signals competence. The entrepreneur who references industry trends the prospect barely noticed signals authority. The candidate who suggests improvements to processes during the interview signals value. These competence demonstrations make your subsequent ask more persuasive because you have already proven you know what you are talking about. Create urgency without manufacturing false scarcity. Real urgency comes from consequences of inaction, not arbitrary deadlines. Instead of saying, "This price is only available until Friday," which everyone recognizes as manipulative, say, "You mentioned you are losing $1,500 daily due to this inefficiency. Every week you wait to fix it costs you $10,000 in lost profit." This urgency is based on their reality, not your sales tactics. It reminds them that delay has real costs. False urgency breeds distrust. Real urgency based on their situation motivates action. Tailor your language to match theirs. If they speak analytically using data and logic, respond analytically with numbers and evidence. If they speak emotionally about vision and impact, respond with stories and outcomes. If they speak practically about implementation and process, respond with steps and timelines. Mirroring communication style creates rapport and makes your message land more effectively. The disconnect between analytical prospects and emotional presenters kills deals unnecessarily. Pay attention to how they frame problems and mirror that framing in your solutions. Use reciprocity strategically by giving value before asking for commitment. Share useful insights during discovery calls that help them even if they never buy. Send relevant articles or resources after initial conversations. Introduce them to valuable connections from your network. Provide small consulting advice without charging. These value deposits create psychological reciprocity where the other person feels inclined to return the favor. This is not manipulation. It is genuinely helpful behavior that also happens to strengthen relationships and increase the likelihood they want to work with you. Give without expectation, but recognize that giving builds persuasive capital. Simplify complex ideas into memorable phrases. People remember and repeat simple formulations, not detailed explanations. If your core value proposition takes 3 paragraphs to explain, nobody will understand or share it. Distill it to one sentence that captures the essence. We help manufacturers reduce defects by 50% in 90 days. Beats a long explanation of quality control systems. Simplicity persuades because it is comprehensible and shareable. Your audience should be able to explain your offering to others using language you gave them. Follow up persistently but respectfully. Most persuasive conversations do not end with immediate yes or no. They end with, "Let me think about it," or "Send me more information." The entrepreneur who accepts this and waits passively rarely closes deals. The entrepreneur who follows up systematically with relevant information, answers to questions raised, and gentle prompts to make decisions closes far more often. Persistence signals confidence in your offering and keeps you visible while they deliberate. Space follow-ups appropriately based on their timeline and preferences. Weekly check-ins might be perfect for one prospect and annoying for another. Adapt your persistence to their communication style. Practice persuasion constantly in low-stakes situations. Every conversation is an opportunity to improve. Convince the barista to try making your drink a specific way. Persuade a friend to watch the movie you want to see. Convince a stranger at a conference to continue a conversation. These micro-persuasion moments build skills that transfer to high-stakes business situations. You learn to read body language, adjust messaging based on reactions, handle resistance, and guide conversations toward desired outcomes. Persuasion is a skill refined through repetition, not something you turn on only when pitches matter. Your entire business rises or falls on persuasion ability. The best products lose to inferior products marketed persuasively. The most qualified candidates lose jobs to less qualified candidates who interview better. The smartest strategies fail if you cannot persuade your team to execute them. Invest seriously in this skill. Study influence psychology, record and review your pitches. Seek feedback on your persuasive communications. Master this capability and everything else becomes easier, because you can convert opportunities into outcomes reliably instead of hoping others magically understand your value. Chapter 12. Study market trends before they become obvious. Fortunes are made by those who see shifts before the masses recognize them. By the time a trend appears obvious, markets are crowded, margins are compressed, and early advantages have disappeared. The entrepreneur who starts a podcast in 2025 competes with millions of shows. The entrepreneur who started in 2015 built audiences when attention was abundant and competition was sparse. The entrepreneur launching a mobile app today fights for visibility in stores with millions of alternatives. The entrepreneur who launched when app stores were new faced minimal competition. Timing multiplies results exponentially, and timing comes from detecting patterns while they are still emerging rather than after they dominate headlines. Most people are terrible trend spotters because they confuse popularity with opportunity. They see something everywhere and assume it represents the future, when actually it represents the present or even the past. Cryptocurrency dominated conversations in late 2021 after prices peaked, which was precisely the worst time to enter. Social media influencing seemed like an opportunity in 2020 after it was already saturated. The opportunity was 5 years earlier when the model was forming. By the time your neighbor asks about a trend, you are probably too late to capture significant advantage. Real trend detection happens in the quiet period before mass awareness, when signals are weak and most people dismiss them as irrelevant noise. Develop specific information sources that surface early signals. Follow researchers publishing cutting-edge studies in fields relevant to your industry. Subscribe to trade publications that industry insiders read but general audiences ignore. Join professional communities where practitioners discuss emerging challenges before they hit mainstream awareness. Attend specialized conferences focused on innovation rather than general business events. Monitor patent filings in your sector to see what companies are protecting before bringing to market. These sources give you 6 to 18 months of advance notice compared to waiting for trends to appear in popular media. That lead time is where opportunity concentrates. Watch what young people adopt enthusiastically before older demographics notice. Youth typically adopt new behaviors, platforms, and technologies years before they spread widely. If teenagers are doing something consistently that seems strange to adults, pay attention. That behavior often predicts broader adoption once those teenagers age into spending power and influence. Instagram seemed pointless to many adults when it launched, but was immediately popular with young users. Companies that recognized this early trend and built marketing strategies around it gained years of advantage over competitors who dismissed it as a fad. Track where attention flows among demographics that lead cultural adoption. Identify pain points that current solutions address poorly. Every major trend starts as an inadequate market response to real problems. People struggled to find transportation quickly, which created opportunity for Uber. People wanted convenient streaming entertainment, which created opportunity for Netflix. People needed collaborative work tools for remote teams, which created opportunity for Slack. These companies did not invent needs. They recognized existing frustrations and built better solutions before those frustrations became intolerable enough for competitors to swarm the space. Listen carefully when people complain about how things work. Repeated complaints across multiple people signal opportunities, waiting for someone to solve them properly. Monitor regulatory changes because they create or destroy entire markets. New privacy laws change how marketing works. Healthcare regulations open opportunities for compliant solutions. Environmental policies create demand for sustainable alternatives. Tax code changes shift where capital flows. The entrepreneur tracking regulatory developments sees opportunities months before they materialize. They can position themselves as experts in compliance before competitors understand the regulations even exist. They can build products serving newly created needs before demand becomes obvious. Regulatory change is predictable through following legislative processes, giving you time to prepare while others remain unaware. Study adjacent industries for patterns that might transfer. Trends often appear in one sector before spreading to others. E-commerce disrupted retail before professional services. Subscription models transformed software before spreading to consumer goods. Direct-to-consumer strategies revolutionized fashion before entering food and beverage. When you see a successful model in one industry, ask whether it could work in yours before someone else asks the same question. The first mover captures advantage that followers struggle to overcome. Cross-industry pattern recognition lets you import proven innovations before they occur to competitors focused narrowly on their own sector. Pay attention to infrastructure being built because infrastructure precedes use cases. When cloud computing infrastructure matured, it enabled thousands of software businesses that could not exist previously. When smartphone adoption reached critical mass, it enabled entire categories of mobile-first services. When payment processing became frictionless, it enabled subscription business models to flourish. Current infrastructure development predicts future opportunities. 5G networks will enable applications impossible on 4G. Artificial intelligence tools will enable businesses impossible without them. Identify infrastructure reaching maturity and ask what becomes possible once it exists that is impossible today. Track investment flows from venture capital and private equity. Smart money moves toward emerging opportunities before they become obvious. When multiple firms invest heavily in a sector, they have identified growth potential their research suggests will materialize. You do not need millions to invest yourself, but you can build businesses serving the same emerging markets that attracted institutional capital. Public databases and news sources report major investments quarterly. Analyze where capital concentrates and ask what problems investors believe will become significant enough to generate returns. Their conviction, backed by substantial research, provides free market intelligence. Notice when experts start talking about something they previously ignored. Academic researchers, industry analysts, and thought leaders shift attention toward topics gaining importance. When multiple credible voices begin publishing about a subject within a short time frame, that cluster signals a trend forming. Individual articles might be noise. 5 articles from respected sources within 3 months is a pattern. 10 articles from diverse experts within 6 months is a trend you should investigate thoroughly. These experts have access to data and perspectives that help them identify shifts before popular recognition. Observe changes in consumer behavior at the margins. Mainstream behavior shifts slowly, but edge cases show where things are heading. If a small percentage of customers start requesting features your product does not offer, that percentage will likely grow. If niche communities form around solving specific problems, those communities predict broader needs. If early adopters embrace new purchasing patterns, those patterns often spread to broader markets. Margin behavior today predicts mainstream behavior tomorrow. Track these signals systematically instead of dismissing them as outliers. Create a personal trend tracking system. Dedicate 1 hour weekly to reviewing your information sources and documenting observations. What technologies gained attention this week? What business models emerged? What consumer behaviors changed? What investments were announced? What regulations were proposed? What complaints appeared repeatedly? Write these observations in a journal or spreadsheet. Review monthly to identify patterns invisible in weekly data. Trends become clear only through systematic observation over time. Most entrepreneurs operate reactively, responding to trends after they arrive. You will operate proactively, positioned ahead of trends because you tracked their development systematically. Test small bets on emerging trends before full commitment. When you spot a potential trend, run inexpensive experiments to validate whether it matters for your market. Create a small product serving the need. Launch a pilot program testing the new approach. Interview potential customers about whether they care. These small tests reveal whether your trend analysis is accurate without betting resources you cannot afford to lose. Failed trend predictions cost little when you test cheaply. Validated trends justify larger investments. This experimental approach lets you explore multiple potential trends simultaneously and scale whichever ones prove real. Distinguish between fads and lasting shifts. Fads generate intense short-term interest that collapses quickly. Fidget spinners, Clubhouse, many NFT projects. Lasting shifts change fundamental behaviors permanently. Mobile internet, remote work, digital payments. The difference is whether the trend solves enduring problems or just captures temporary attention. Fads are fun distractions. Shifts are structural changes. Focus your efforts on identifying shifts because they create decade-long opportunities rather than 6-month windows. Ask whether the trend addresses deep human needs or temporary curiosity. Needs sustain businesses. Curiosity does not. Position yourself as an expert in emerging areas before competition arrives. Write articles explaining the trend. Speak at conferences about its implications. Create content helping others understand what is happening. This thought leadership establishes you as the authority when the trend becomes mainstream. When companies need help navigating the change, they remember the person who explained it months earlier. When customers need solutions, they contact the expert they have followed. Early positioning multiplies your advantages because brand recognition in emerging spaces is dramatically easier than in established, crowded markets. Accept that you will spot trends incorrectly sometimes. Not every weak signal becomes a major shift. Some patterns you identify will dissipate without materializing. This is acceptable. The entrepreneur who spots 10 trends and 5 prove real still gains massive advantage from those 5. The entrepreneur who waits for certainty spots 0 trends early and gains no advantage. Perfect accuracy is impossible and unnecessary. Reasonable accuracy combined with early action is sufficient to capture opportunities others miss. Keep spotting, keep testing. Keep learning from both correct and incorrect predictions. The future belongs to those who see it forming while others focus on the present. Allocate time weekly to looking forward instead of only managing current operations. Your competitors are heads down executing today's playbook. You need to be simultaneously executing today while preparing for tomorrow. This dual focus is uncomfortable because it requires holding present and future in mind concurrently. Most people cannot or will not do this, which is exactly why it creates competitive advantage. Start today by identifying one trend that seems insignificant now but might matter in 2 years. Research it. Test it. Position yourself ahead of it. When it arrives, you will already be established while others scramble to catch up. Chapter 13. Build personal brand that attracts opportunities naturally. Opportunities flow to people who are known, not to people who are capable but invisible. You can possess extraordinary skills, build exceptional products, and deliver outstanding results, but if nobody knows you exist, none of it matters. The market rewards visibility as much as competence. 2 entrepreneurs with identical abilities experience vastly different outcomes based purely on whether people recognize their names and associate them with specific expertise. The unknown entrepreneur spends energy chasing every opportunity, pitching constantly, convincing skeptical prospects from 0 credibility. The entrepreneur with a strong personal brand receives inbound inquiries, gets introduced to valuable contacts, and enters conversations with pre-established trust. Personal brand is not vanity. It is infrastructure that makes everything else easier. Your personal brand is the intersection of what you know, what you share, and what people remember about you. Most entrepreneurs fail at branding because they try to be everything to everyone. They share content across 10 different topics. They position themselves as experts in multiple unrelated fields. They switch focus every few months based on what seems trendy. This dilution guarantees you become known for nothing. The memorable personal brand owns one specific thing in people's minds. When someone in your target audience encounters a particular problem or topic, your name should immediately surface. Marketing consultant is too broad. The person who helps software companies acquire enterprise customers through content marketing is specific. Career coach is forgettable. the expert who helps mid-career professionals transition from corporate to entrepreneurship, is memorable. Specificity creates brand clarity that generality never achieves. Start by defining the single transformation you help people achieve, not 5 transformations. 1. This becomes your positioning statement that guides every piece of content, every conversation, every public appearance. You are not limiting yourself to only doing this one thing in your business. You are focusing your public message on one thing so people remember and refer you accurately. Behind the scenes, you might offer multiple services. Publicly, you own one clear identity. This focused messaging makes people confident referring you because they know exactly who benefits from meeting you. Diffuse messaging makes referrals impossible because nobody knows what to say about you. Demonstrate expertise publicly through consistent content creation. Employers hire based on resumes and interviews. Clients hire based on demonstrated expertise visible to anyone. Write articles solving specific problems your target audience faces. Record videos explaining complex concepts in simple terms. Share insights from your work without revealing confidential details. Publish case studies showing measurable results you generated. This content serves multiple purposes simultaneously. It attracts people searching for solutions to problems you solve. It proves your competence to prospects considering hiring you. It gives your network content to share when someone needs help you provide. Each piece of content is a sales representative working around the clock introducing you to potential opportunities. Consistency matters more than perfection. The person who publishes mediocre content weekly builds a stronger brand than the person who publishes perfect content quarterly. Frequency creates familiarity. Familiarity builds trust. Trust opens opportunities. Your early content will be rough. Your thinking will evolve. Your presentation will improve. None of that matters because showing up consistently is the foundation. You are training both your audience and yourself. Your audience learns to expect value from you regularly. You learn to clarify thinking through repeated articulation. Volume eventually produces quality as you discover what resonates and refine your approach based on feedback. Engage meaningfully with others in your field rather than broadcasting selfishly. Personal brand is not monologue, it is conversation. Comment thoughtfully on other people's posts. Share their work with your own insights added. Ask questions that advance discussions. Participate in online communities where your audience gathers. This engagement makes you visible to people you do not directly know because your contributions appear in feeds and forums. It builds relationships with peers who become collaborators and referral sources. It demonstrates generosity and curiosity, traits people want in partners and advisors. Broadcasting without engaging makes you seem self-absorbed. Engaging positions you as a valuable community member worth knowing. Tell your story strategically without making yourself the hero. People connect with authentic narratives about struggles, failures, and lessons learned. Share how you developed your expertise. Describe challenges you overcame. Explain what you learned from mistakes. Admit when you changed your mind about something. This vulnerability humanizes you and makes your expertise seem attainable rather than intimidating, but frame these stories to serve your audience, not your ego. The lesson or insight should be the hero, not you. Here is what happened, and what I learned that might help you. Works. Here is why I am amazing. Backfires. Your story becomes brand building when it provides value rather than seeking admiration. Choose platforms strategically based on where your audience actually spends time. Do not try to maintain presence everywhere. You will spread yourself too thin and execute poorly across all channels. Identify the 2 platforms where your target audience congregates most heavily and own those completely. For B2B services, LinkedIn might be primary. For consumer products, Instagram or TikTok might dominate. For technical audiences, Twitter and YouTube might matter most. Go where your people are, ignore where they are not. Deep presence on 2 platforms beats shallow presence on SIPs. You cannot build relationships with people who are not there, and you cannot maintain quality while managing too many channels. Invest in quality when it matters to your brand perception. If you primarily share written content, hire an editor to tighten your writing. If you create videos, invest in decent audio equipment, because poor sound quality makes content unwatchable regardless of content value. If you speak at events, practice thoroughly until your delivery is smooth. These quality investments signal professionalism and respect for your audience. They make your content more consumable, which increases the likelihood people finish and share it. You do not need expensive production, but you need clarity, coherence, and reasonable polish. Sloppy execution suggests sloppy work, which damages brand rather than building it. Collaborate with others to expand your reach exponentially. Interview people your audience wants to learn from. Guest on podcasts your prospects listen to. Co-create content with peers serving similar audiences through different approaches. Write guest articles for publications your target market reads. These collaborations expose you to audiences you do not currently reach. The host's or publication's credibility transfers to you as a guest worth featuring. You leverage existing audiences rather than building from zero. One appearance on a popular podcast can generate more visibility than months of posting on your own channels. Pursue these partnerships systematically as core brand building strategy. Track what works and double down on it ruthlessly. Not every piece of content performs equally. Some generate significant engagement, shares, and inquiries. Others barely get noticed. Analyze your best performing content to identify patterns. What topics resonate most? What formats get shared? What style generates the most meaningful responses? Once you identify these patterns, create more content matching those characteristics. Stop wasting time on approaches that do not work, even if you personally prefer them. Your brand exists to serve your business goals, not your creative preferences. Build the brand that attracts opportunities, not the brand that satisfies your artistic sensibilities. Protect your reputation like the valuable asset it is. One careless statement, one unethical action, one public meltdown can destroy years of brand building instantly. Think before posting emotional reactions. Avoid controversial political or social commentary unless central to your brand. Decline opportunities that do not align with your positioning. Fire clients who drag your name into messy situations. Your reputation is the sum of every interaction, every piece of content, every association. Treat it as more valuable than any single opportunity because it determines which opportunities come to you indefinitely. Rebuilding damaged reputation takes exponentially longer than maintaining good reputation through consistent judgment. Showcase client results and testimonials prominently. Social proof builds your brand faster than self-promotion. Let others tell your story through their experiences. Working with this person helped me achieve X measurable result. Carries far more weight than you claiming you can achieve X. Collect testimonials systematically from every satisfied client. Request specific details about results rather than generic praise. Display these prominently on your website, in your content, and during sales conversations. Video testimonials are particularly powerful because they feel more authentic than written quotes. Each testimonial reduces skepticism and accelerates trust for new prospects considering working with you. Be patient because brand building is measured in years, not months. You will publish content that gets ignored. You will show up consistently without seeing immediate results. You will invest time and energy before opportunities materialize. This delay discourages most people into quitting before their brand reaches critical mass. The person who persists through this invisible phase wins because they are still building when everyone else stopped. Brand compounds like interest. Early efforts yield minimal returns. Continued effort reaches an inflection point where opportunities accelerate dramatically. Stay consistent through the quiet period, and you will eventually experience the exponential phase where your brand works harder than you do. Personal brand is not optional for entrepreneurs who want to thrive. It is infrastructure determining whether you chase every opportunity or whether opportunities find you. Start building today with one focused message shared consistently on platforms where your audience lives. The brand you build this year will still generate opportunities a decade from now. That compounding return makes it one of the highest value investments you can make in your business and career. Chapter 14. Negotiate fearlessly to maximize every business deal. Most entrepreneurs leave enormous value on the table because they fear negotiation. They accept the first offer presented. They avoid asking for better terms because it might offend someone. They settle for less than they deserve because confrontation feels uncomfortable. This timidity costs millions over a career. Every contract negotiated poorly, every deal accepted too quickly, every concession made unnecessarily compounds into staggering lost opportunity. The entrepreneur who negotiates fearlessly does not win every point, but they consistently secure better terms than those who accept whatever gets offered. Over dozens of negotiations spanning years, this difference transforms business outcomes completely. Negotiation begins long before you sit down to discuss terms. Your leverage determines outcomes more than your skill at the table. Leverage comes from having alternatives. The entrepreneur desperate for a deal has no leverage regardless of negotiation tactics. The entrepreneur with multiple options can walk away if terms are not acceptable, which fundamentally changes power dynamics. Build alternatives deliberately before entering important negotiations. If negotiating with a potential investor, have conversations with several others simultaneously. If negotiating with a major client, ensure your pipeline contains other prospects. If negotiating a partnership, identify alternative partners who could serve similar purposes. Alternatives transform you from supplicant to selector, from powerless to powerful. Never accept the first offer. This rule applies whether buying or selling, hiring or being hired, partnering or being approached for partnership. First offers are always testing boundaries. The other party wants to discover how much you will accept with minimal effort. When you accept immediately, you signal either desperation or naivety, both of which encourage them to push harder on other terms. Even if the first offer exceeds your expectations, counter anyway. That is generous and I appreciate it. I was thinking something closer to this amount would reflect the full value being exchanged. This response keeps negotiation open while maintaining positive tone. You will be surprised how often people agree to better terms simply because you asked. Research comparable deals thoroughly before negotiating. What do others in your position typically receive? What have similar transactions involved for terms, price, and structure? This information establishes reasonable ranges and prevents you from anchoring on artificially low or high numbers. The entrepreneur negotiating their first consulting contract without knowing market rates might accept half what they could command. The business owner selling without understanding industry valuation multiples might leave millions on the table. Information is power in negotiation. Invest hours researching before investing minutes negotiating. Those hours of research pay for themselves many times over in improved outcomes. Ask for more than you expect to receive. This creates room for concessions that make the other party feel they won something while still landing where you wanted. If you want 50,000, ask for 65,000. When they counter at 55,000, accept and they feel they negotiated successfully. If you had asked for 50,000 initially, they likely would have countered at 40,000, and you would have settled for 45,000. Higher initial asks produce better final outcomes. This is not dishonest. It is understanding negotiation psychology. Both parties expect back and forth. Starting high lets you give ground strategically while protecting your actual target. Separate the person from the problem. Negotiation becomes emotional when you perceive disagreement as personal attack. The investor pushing back on your valuation is not rejecting you personally. They are trying to optimize their investment terms. The client negotiating price down is not insulting your worth. They are managing their budget. When you separate business positions from personal relationships, you negotiate more effectively because you do not react defensively to natural tension. You can be firm on terms while remaining warm toward people. This combination is powerful because it prevents relationship damage while protecting your interests. You can disagree about price and still respect each other as professionals. Silence is a weapon in negotiation. After stating your position or making an offer, stop talking. The first person to speak after a proposal typically makes concessions. Silence creates discomfort that people instinctively fill with words. often revealing information or offering compromises unprompted. Practice tolerating silence. Count to 10 in your head before responding to offers. You will be amazed how often the other party breaks silence with improved terms simply because you waited. Most people negotiate against themselves by talking too much. Let silence work for you instead of against you. Focus on interests rather than positions. Positions are what people say they want. Interests are why they want it. When someone insists on a specific price, that is a position. Their interest might be staying within budget, proving they negotiated well to their boss, or maintaining perceived fairness with other vendors. Understanding interests lets you propose creative solutions that satisfy their underlying needs without conceding your position. Maybe the price stays high, but payment terms spread over longer periods, solving their budget interest. Maybe you include additional services that help them justify the cost internally. Interest-based negotiation expands the pie rather than just dividing it. Know your walk-away point before negotiating and honor it. This is the minimum acceptable outcome below which you would rather have no deal. Calculate this number based on your costs, opportunity cost, and strategic value. Once you know your walk-away point, you can negotiate confidently because you know exactly when to exit. Many entrepreneurs agree to bad deals because they did not define their floor ahead of time. In the moment, with pressure and momentum toward agreement, they rationalize accepting terms they should reject. Your walk-away point protects you from this trap. When negotiation crosses that line, you politely but firmly end the conversation. This willingness to walk away paradoxically produces better deals because the other party senses you mean it. Trade concessions rather than giving them freely. When the other party asks for something, respond with, "I can consider that if you can accommodate this other point that matters to me." Every concession you make should generate a concession in return. This keeps negotiation balanced and prevents one-sided outcomes where you give repeatedly without receiving. The client who asks for a discount gets asked for a longer contract term or permission to use the project as a case study. The investor who wants better terms gets asked to provide strategic introductions or advisory support. Linking concessions maintains equilibrium and ensures both parties contribute to reaching agreement. Manage anchoring strategically. The first number mentioned in negotiation often becomes the psychological reference point around which everything else revolves. When selling, you want to anchor high so counteroffers stay elevated. When buying, you want to anchor low so counteroffers stay depressed. Control anchoring by making the first move in directions that favor you. If they anchor first unfavorably, explicitly reject the anchor before countering. That number is far outside market norms for this situation. A realistic range based on comparable deals is this instead. This reframes the negotiation around your anchor rather than theirs. Prepare thoroughly for every significant negotiation. List every term that matters to you ranked by priority. Identify what you will insist on, what you would like but can compromise on, and what you do not care about. Anticipate what the other party will want and prepare responses. Practice your opening statement. Rehearse responses to likely objections. The entrepreneur who prepares for 2 hours before a crucial negotiation performs dramatically better than the one who wings it. Preparation builds confidence, prevents you from missing important points, and helps you respond thoughtfully rather than reactively when unexpected issues arise. Use time strategically. Negotiators who feel time pressure make concessions to reach agreement before deadlines. Negotiators with time flexibility can wait for better terms. Whenever possible, create urgency for the other party while maintaining flexibility for yourself. If selling a business, market it when you do not need to sell rather than when financial pressure forces a sale. If hiring, start recruiting before you desperately need someone rather than when operational pressure makes any candidate look acceptable. Time pressure is a form of leverage. Manage it to your advantage rather than letting it work against you. Never split the difference automatically. When two parties are far apart, the instinct is to meet in the middle as fair compromise. This instinct is exploitable. If you want 20,000 and they offer 10,000, splitting the difference yields 15,000. But if you had anchored at 30,000 and they offered 10,000, splitting the difference yields 20,000. The same fair compromise principle produces vastly different outcomes based on initial anchors. Splitting the difference is not inherently fair. It is just easy. Negotiate based on value and market standards, not on false fairness of halfway points. Document everything in writing immediately after reaching agreement. Handshake deals deteriorate as memories differ and circumstances change. Send an email summarizing terms discussed and agreed upon while the conversation is fresh. Request confirmation that your summary is accurate. This prevents future disputes about what was actually agreed to and creates accountability. Many deals fall apart during implementation because verbal agreements were remembered differently by each party. Written documentation eliminates ambiguity and protects both parties. Practice negotiating in low-stakes situations to build skill for high-stakes ones. Negotiate with vendors about pricing. Negotiate with service providers about terms. Negotiate when buying products or services for personal use. These practice negotiations develop comfort with asking, countering, and dealing with rejection. The skills transfer directly to business negotiations where outcomes matter more. Most people are terrible negotiators because they only negotiate in crucial situations when their inexperience costs them dearly. Deliberate practice in safe environments builds competence that transforms results in important negotiations. Embrace negotiation as a positive, sum game rather than combat. Both parties should walk away feeling they got reasonable value, or the relationship will not last. Squeezing every possible advantage from a negotiation might win the deal, but lose the partnership. The client who feels exploited will not renew. The employee who feels undervalued will not stay. The investor who feels they got unfair terms will not fund future rounds. Negotiate firmly for fair value while preserving relationships. Long-term success requires ongoing partnerships, and partnerships require both parties feeling respected through negotiation processes. Fearless negotiation is not ruthless exploitation. It is confident pursuit of fair terms that make deals worth completing for everyone involved. Chapter 15. Leverage technology to scale your impact exponentially. Technology is the ultimate leverage multiplier. One person with the right tools can accomplish what previously required entire teams. A solo entrepreneur can now reach millions of people through platforms that distribute content globally. A small business can serve customers across continents through systems that process orders, payments, and logistics automatically. The gap between those who embrace technology and those who resist it grows wider daily. The entrepreneur who masters digital tools operates at 10 times the efficiency of the entrepreneur who does it all manually. This efficiency difference compounds into massive competitive advantages that become insurmountable over time. Most entrepreneurs underutilize technology because they see it as complicated rather than essential. They stick with manual methods because those feel familiar and controllable. They avoid learning new platforms because the initial learning curve seems daunting. This resistance is expensive beyond calculation. Every hour spent on tasks that technology could handle is an hour not spent on strategic thinking, relationship building, or innovation. The marginal cost of your time is far higher than the cost of tools that replace it. When you earn or could earn $200 per hour and spend 2 hours weekly on tasks a $20 per month tool could automate, you lose $14,000 annually. Multiply this across multiple tools and processes, and resistance to technology costs you more than almost any other business decision. Start by auditing which tasks consume your time that technology could handle better. Customer relationship management, lead tracking, email sequences, social media scheduling, appointment booking, invoice generation, payment processing, expense tracking, project management, team communication, data analysis, content creation. Nearly every operational task has software specifically designed to automate or streamline it. The question is not whether solutions exist, but whether you have implemented them. Make a comprehensive list of repetitive tasks you perform weekly. Then research the best tools for each category. Invest one weekend implementing these solutions, and you free up 5 to 10 hours weekly permanently. Artificial intelligence is transforming what individuals can accomplish without teams. You can now generate draft content that you refine rather than starting from blank pages. You can analyze large datasets in minutes that would take days manually. You can create professional graphics without design skills. You can edit videos without expensive software expertise. You can translate content into multiple languages instantly. These capabilities were impossible or prohibitively expensive 5 years ago. They are now available for minimal cost to anyone willing to learn them. The entrepreneur who masters AI tools operates at a fundamentally different level than competitors doing everything manually. Your competition is not just other humans anymore. It is humans augmented by technology versus humans working alone. Cloud-based software eliminates technical barriers that used to require IT departments. You no longer need to install software, maintain servers, or handle technical infrastructure. Everything runs in web browsers accessible from anywhere. This means you can build sophisticated businesses with zero technical staff. Customer databases, accounting systems, project management, e-commerce platforms, everything operates in the cloud maintained by the software companies. Your only job is using the tools effectively. This democratization means small businesses can deploy enterprise-level capabilities that were once exclusive to large corporations with massive budgets. The playing field has leveled dramatically for those who take advantage. Integration between tools multiplies their individual value. Each standalone tool is useful. Connected tools become powerful systems. When your email marketing software connects to your CRM, which connects to your payment processor, which connects to your accounting software, you create an ecosystem where information flows automatically. A new lead enters your CRM from a website form, triggers an email welcome sequence, tracks their engagement, notifies you when they reach a buying threshold, processes their payment when they purchase, updates your financial records automatically, and creates a support ticket for onboarding. This entire workflow runs without you touching it. Building these integrations requires upfront effort, but creates permanent operational efficiency. Mobile technology untethers you from location constraints. You can run significant portions of your business from a phone. Approve expenses while traveling, respond to customer inquiries during commutes, review reports while waiting for meetings, record content during walks. The smartphone in your pocket has more computing power than entire companies had 20 years ago. Use it strategically. Install apps for your critical business tools. Configure notifications so urgent items reach you immediately while non-urgent items batch until you have time. Mobile access does not mean you should work constantly, but it means you can handle time-sensitive matters from anywhere, preventing small delays from becoming big problems. Data analytics tools reveal insights buried in information you already have. You are generating data constantly through every customer interaction, sale, website visit, and marketing activity. Most entrepreneurs never analyze this data systematically, which means they make decisions based on intuition rather than evidence. Analytics tools compile this information into dashboards showing which products sell best, which marketing channels generate profit, which customers are most valuable, which times of day see highest engagement. These insights let you optimize operations based on reality instead of assumptions. The difference between optimizing and guessing compounds into dramatically different outcomes over months and years. Communication tools enable global teams to work together seamlessly. Video conferencing lets you meet face-to-face regardless of location. Shared documents let multiple people collaborate on projects simultaneously. Project management software keeps everyone aligned on priorities and deadlines. Instant messaging enables quick questions without email formality. These tools mean you can hire talent anywhere rather than limiting yourself to your geographic area. The developer in a different country works as effectively with you as someone in your office. The designer halfway around the world delivers files while you sleep. This global access to talent and the ability to coordinate it effectively through technology is perhaps the most significant competitive advantage available to modern entrepreneurs. E-commerce platforms let you sell globally without physical infrastructure. Someone in another continent can discover your product, purchase it, and receive it without you personally handling anything. Payment processes automatically. Order information flows to fulfillment partners. Shipping carriers pick up and deliver. Tracking updates customers throughout the journey. Customer service queries route through support systems. You can scale from 10 orders weekly to 10,000 orders weekly without proportionally increasing your involvement. The platform handles the operational burden. Your focus shifts to marketing, product development, and strategic decisions rather than processing individual transactions. Marketing automation nurtures prospects and customers without your constant attention. Someone subscribes to your email list and receives a sequence educating them about problems you solve and how your solution works. They click on specific links, and that behavior triggers different sequences. They purchase and enter customer retention sequences designed to maximize lifetime value. They abandon a shopping cart and receive reminders to complete the purchase. All of this happens automatically based on rules you set once. You are building relationships with thousands of people simultaneously, something impossible through manual effort. Marketing automation does not replace genuine human connection. It handles the repetitive touches so you can focus human attention on high-value interactions. Security and backup technology protects your business from catastrophic loss. Automated backups run continuously, preserving your work even if hardware fails. Password managers secure access while letting you use complex, unique passwords for every service. Two-factor authentication prevents unauthorized access even if passwords leak. Encryption protects sensitive customer data. These security measures used to require dedicated IT staff. Now they are built into most business tools or available through simple third-party services. The entrepreneur who ignores security will eventually face data breaches, ransomware, or information loss that damages or destroys their business. Prevention through technology is exponentially cheaper than recovery after disaster. Learning platforms accelerate skill acquisition that used to take years. You can learn almost anything through online courses, tutorials, and communities. Software development, marketing, financial analysis, design, sales, any skill relevant to building a business has comprehensive training available. The cost is minimal compared to traditional education. The time commitment is flexible, fitting around your schedule. This means you can rapidly develop capabilities in-house rather than outsourcing or hiring for every skill gap. The entrepreneur who leverages learning technology becomes increasingly capable over time, while competitors stay static or pay others for capabilities they could develop themselves. Productivity tools help you manage attention in an environment designed to distract you. Focus apps block distracting websites during work sessions. Time tracking software shows where hours actually go versus where you think they go. Task management systems ensure nothing important gets forgotten. Calendar tools prevent overbooking and protect time for deep work. Note, taking apps capture ideas before they disappear. These tools do not make you more productive by adding hours to your day. They make you more productive by ensuring the hours you have get allocated to high-value activities rather than drained by distractions and disorganization. The entrepreneur who views technology as optional is competing with one hand tied behind their back. The entrepreneur who embraces technology as fundamental infrastructure multiplies their impact far beyond what individual effort could ever achieve. Start this week by implementing one new tool that eliminates a time-consuming task. Next week, add another. Within 3 months, you will have constructed a technology stack that lets you accomplish more in 4 hours than you previously did in 40. That is not exaggeration. That is the mathematical reality of leverage properly applied through modern tools that most entrepreneurs have not yet bothered to use effectively. Chapter 16. Cultivate patience while maintaining aggressive execution speed. The greatest entrepreneurs master a paradox that destroys average ones. They possess infinite patience for outcomes while maintaining relentless urgency about actions. This combination seems contradictory until you understand the distinction. Patience about outcomes means accepting that meaningful results take time to materialize. You cannot force a business to profitability in 3 months If the model requires 18 months to validate, you cannot build deep customer relationships overnight when trust develops through repeated positive interactions. You cannot establish industry authority instantly when reputation compounds through years of demonstrated expertise. Impatience about these timelines creates anxiety, poor decisions, and premature abandonment of strategies that needed more time. Urgency about actions means executing today's tasks with intensity and focus. You move quickly, ship rapidly, test frequently, iterate immediately. No delays, no excuses, no waiting for perfect conditions. This combination of patient vision and urgent execution creates unstoppable momentum while avoiding the burnout that comes from demanding immediate results. Most entrepreneurs fail by inverting this formula. They are impatient about outcomes, checking revenue daily and panicking when growth does not match unrealistic expectations. Simultaneously, they are slow about execution, taking weeks to make decisions that should take hours, launching products months after they could have tested them, and procrastinating on difficult actions. This inverse formula guarantees frustration. Impatience about outcomes that require time produces stress without accelerating results. Slowness about actions that should happen immediately wastes the actual leverage you control. You cannot control when customers buy, but you can control when you launch. You cannot control when investors say yes, but you can control how many you pitch. You cannot control when employees reach peak performance, but you can control how quickly you hire and train them. Develop patience by understanding natural timelines for different outcomes. Building an audience requires consistent content production over 12 to 24 months before critical mass creates visibility. Achieving product market fit typically takes 6 to 18 months of testing and iteration. Establishing profitable unit economics often requires 3 to 12 months of data collection and optimization. Training employees to operate independently takes 90 days minimum for most roles. These timelines are not failures, they are reality. When you accept them, you stop feeling anxious about processes unfolding at their natural pace. You measure progress against realistic benchmarks instead of fantasy timelines. The entrepreneur who expects profitability in month 3 gets discouraged and quits. The entrepreneur who expects validation around month 12 stays motivated because they are on schedule. Aggressive execution means collapsing the time between decision and action. When you decide to launch a product, launch within days, not months. When you identify a needed hire, post the job immediately and screen candidates within the week. When you spot a problem in operations, fix it today rather than adding it to an endless list. When you have an idea for content, record or write it now while the thinking is fresh. Speed compounds because each quick action produces feedback that informs the next action. The entrepreneur who launches quickly learns what works this month. The entrepreneur who delays learning this month is still preparing while you are already iterating on version 2 based on real market feedback. Over a year, the fast executor completes 10 learning cycles while the slow executor completes 2. This velocity gap creates insurmountable advantages. Separate your energy between things you control and things you do not. You control your actions, your effort, your focus, your decisions. You do not control market timing, customer behavior, competitor moves, economic conditions, or how quickly results materialize. Pour aggressive energy into your controllable actions. Move fast, work intensely, execute decisively on everything within your power. Practice patient acceptance of outcomes that depend on external factors or natural timelines. This allocation prevents wasted emotional energy on things you cannot influence, while maximizing impact on things you can. The entrepreneur who rages about slow customer adoption wastes energy. The entrepreneur who patiently continues creating value while aggressively testing new acquisition channels uses that same energy productively. Build patience through celebrating process metrics rather than only outcome metrics. Outcome metrics are revenue, customers, profit, things that lag behind your actions. Process metrics are content published, emails sent, calls made, tests run, things you directly control. When you tie your satisfaction to outcomes, you suffer through long periods where nothing seems to work. When you tie satisfaction to process execution, you feel successful daily because you control whether you execute. Published 3 articles this week. Win. Reached out to 10 potential partners. Win. Launched the minimum viable product. Win. These process wins sustain motivation during the months or years before outcome wins arrive. Eventually, consistent process execution produces outcome success, but you stay motivated throughout the journey by celebrating what you control. Patience does not mean passivity. It means giving your strategies adequate time to work before abandoning them. Most marketing channels require 3 to 6 months of consistent effort before showing results. Most products need multiple iterations based on feedback before finding fit. Most team members need quarters to reach full productivity. Entrepreneurs who lack patience switch strategies every few weeks, which means nothing ever gets time to work. They mistake patience for accepting poor results indefinitely. Real patience is committing to a strategy for a defined period, executing it intensely during that period, measuring results honestly, then deciding whether to persist or pivot based on data rather than emotion. You are patient about the timeline while being aggressive about the execution within that timeline. Use milestones to maintain motivation during long journeys. Break overwhelming goals into achievable checkpoints. Building $1 million business feels impossibly distant. Reaching 10,000 in monthly revenue is a milestone you can visualize. From there, 20,000 becomes the next milestone, then 50,000. Each milestone achieved proves progress and rebuilds confidence for the next phase. These incremental targets let you be patient about the ultimate destination while feeling urgency about reaching the next checkpoint. You are not drifting aimlessly hoping things work out. You are systematically progressing through defined stages, which makes patience easier because you can measure forward movement. Accept that different business models have different velocity profiles. Software businesses can often iterate and scale quickly once product market fit is found. Service businesses scale slower because each customer requires human delivery. Physical product businesses face manufacturing and logistics timelines that cannot be rushed. Understanding your business model's natural velocity prevents comparing yourself unfairly to models that operate differently. You are not failing because your growth is steady rather than explosive. You are building according to your model's characteristics. This acceptance eliminates the anxiety that comes from measuring yourself against inappropriate benchmarks. Protect long-term strategy from short-term pressure. Revenue challenges this month create temptation to abandon your positioning, accept bad fit clients, or compromise your brand for quick cash. These short-term decisions often damage long-term value. The patient entrepreneur recognizes temporary pressure for what it is and avoids making permanent strategic changes in response to temporary circumstances. They might adjust tactics to address immediate needs while keeping strategy intact. They might take on work that is not ideal fit to maintain cash flow, but they do not rebuild their entire business around that work. They keep executing toward the long-term vision while handling short-term realities practically. Learn to distinguish between necessary persistence and stubborn attachment to failing strategies. Patience is not blindly continuing approaches that clearly do not work. It is giving good strategies adequate time while remaining honest about results. If you have tested a marketing channel for 6 months with consistent effort and seen 0 results, that is likely a failed channel for your situation. Shut it down and reallocate resources. If you have tested for 6 weeks and seen minimal results, that is not enough time to judge. Keep going. The difference between quitting too early and persisting too long with failed approaches requires honest assessment. Are you seeing any positive signals, even small ones? Is the trajectory improving or flattering? Does research suggest this should work given more time? Use data and external perspective, not just your feelings, to make these calls. Surround yourself with people who balance these qualities. Impatient executors push you to move faster. Patient strategists remind you that meaningful outcomes take time. You need both voices to maintain balance. The pure action, result-oriented person without strategic patience builds things quickly that do not last. The pure strategic person without execution urgency thinks forever without producing. Find advisors, mentors, and peers who exhibit both qualities. Their example shows you what the balance looks like in practice. Their feedback catches you when you tilt too far toward either extreme. Manage your own expectations ruthlessly. Unrealistic expectations guarantee disappointment regardless of actual progress. If you expect 10,000 in revenue next month based on nothing but hope, you will feel defeated when you hit 5,000 even though 5,000 might represent excellent progress. If you expect profitability in 6 months when your business model requires 18 months, you will experience unnecessary stress throughout. Set expectations based on research, data from similar businesses, and conservative projections. Then get excited when you beat those expectations rather than disappointed when you miss fantasies. Physical health supports both patience and execution speed. Sleep deprivation destroys both. You become impulsive, abandoning strategies because you lack the patience that adequate rest provides. You also become sluggish, unable to execute with the speed you need. Exercise builds stress resilience that helps you maintain patience through difficult periods. Proper nutrition stabilizes energy and mood, preventing the crashes that lead to poor decisions. The entrepreneur who neglects health eventually loses both patience and execution capacity. Protecting your physical state protects your ability to maintain the paradox that successful entrepreneurship requires. The market rewards those who plant trees patiently while working urgently to ensure those trees are planted correctly, watered consistently, and protected from threats. You cannot make a tree grow faster by pulling on it. You can ensure you planted the right tree in the right location with the right care. Outcomes unfold on their timeline. Actions happen on yours. Master the distinction, and you will outlast competitors who burn out from demanding impossible timelines while simultaneously outperforming competitors who execute too slowly to ever reach their patient destinations. Chapter 17. Eliminate distractions that drain your productive energy. Your attention is your most valuable asset, and the world is engineered to steal it. Every notification, every platform, every service competes for seconds of your focus because attention translates into profit for someone else. Social media companies employ psychologists to make their platforms addictive. News organizations sensationalize headlines to capture clicks. Email providers badge unread counts to create anxiety. Entertainment platforms autoplay next episodes to prevent you from stopping. Meanwhile, your business requires deep focused work to build anything meaningful. Strategic thinking cannot happen in 3-minute fragments between interruptions. Creative problem solving needs unbroken concentration. Important decisions demand careful analysis that shallow attention cannot provide. The entrepreneur who allows their attention to be fragmented will work hard, feel busy, and accomplish little. The entrepreneur who protects their attention ruthlessly will work less and achieve exponentially more. Distractions come in 2 categories that require different strategies. External distractions come from your environment. Notifications, interruptions, noise, visual clutter, people demanding immediate responses. Internal distractions come from your own mind. Wandering thoughts, anxiety about unrelated problems, temptation to check devices, restlessness when work gets difficult. Most people focus entirely on external distractions while ignoring internal ones, which is why they eliminate notifications but still accomplish nothing because their mind pulls them away constantly. You need strategies for both. Start by conducting an honest attention audit. Track where your attention actually goes for 1 full week. Use time tracking software or simply write down every activity in 15-minute blocks. Most entrepreneurs discover they spend less than 2 hours daily on activities that directly advance their business. The rest disappears into email, social media, meetings, administrative tasks, and what feels like work but produces no actual value. This audit is uncomfortable because it exposes how much time you waste. It is also essential because you cannot fix problems you have not identified. Once you see where attention drains, you can systematically plug those leaks. Eliminate all non-essential notifications immediately. Your phone should not buzz, ring, or light up unless someone you designated as critically important is trying to reach you. No social media notifications, no news alerts, no app badges showing unread counts, no email notifications except from specific addresses you define as urgent. Every notification fragments your attention and requires mental energy to dismiss and refocus. Research shows it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully recover focus after an interruption. If you receive notifications every 30 minutes, you never achieve deep focus at all. You operate in a permanent state of shallow attention that prevents meaningful work. Configure your devices to serve you rather than demand from you. Batch similar tasks into dedicated time blocks instead of mixing them throughout the day. Checking email constantly is a distraction. Checking email at designated times twice daily is a system. Responding to messages randomly throughout the day fragments attention. Scheduling 1 hour for communication at a specific time protects the rest of your schedule. When you batch tasks, you minimize context switching, which is the mental cost of moving between different types of work. Your brain operates more efficiently when it can stay in one mode for extended periods. You complete email faster when you process 20 messages consecutively than when you answer them individually throughout the day. The same applies to every type of task. Batch it and protect the remaining hours for focused work. Create physical environments optimized for concentration. Your workspace should contain only items relevant to the task at hand. No clutter creating visual noise. No devices tempting you toward distraction unless specifically needed. No open browser tabs beyond what the current project requires. Environmental design matters because willpower is finite. You can resist temptation for a while, but eventually discipline fails. The person working with their phone on the desk will check it. The person who put their phone in another room will not. Design your environment so the distracted action requires more effort than the focused action. This environmental friction protects attention without requiring constant willpower. Set boundaries with people who interrupt you casually. Family, friends, colleagues who drop by or call because your time seems flexible will consume hours if you allow it. This is not malicious. They simply do not understand that your availability costs you productive work. Establish clear working hours where you are unavailable for non-urgent matters. Communicate these boundaries explicitly. Use physical signals like closed doors or headphones to indicate focus time. Most people will respect boundaries once you set them clearly. Those who do not respect boundaries after clear communication need stronger enforcement or reduced access to your time. Practice single tasking instead of multitasking. Multitasking is a myth. Your brain cannot process multiple complex tasks simultaneously. What people call multitasking is actually rapid task switching, which is extremely inefficient. You are starting and stopping each task repeatedly, losing time and quality on both. The person who writes an email while on a call does both poorly. The person who researches while watching videos retains information from neither. Single tasking means fully committing attention to one activity until completion or a natural stopping point, then shifting completely to the next activity. This focused approach produces better work in less time than divided attention ever could. Identify your peak energy hours and protect them ferociously. Most people have 2 to 4 hours daily when their mental energy peaks. For many, this is morning hours. For others, it might be afternoon or evening. Whenever your peak hours occur, reserve them exclusively for your most important work. The strategic planning that determines your entire direction. The creative work that differentiates your offering. The difficult problems that require your best thinking. Never waste peak hours on email, meetings, or administrative tasks. Those activities can happen during lower energy periods. Your peak hours are too valuable to spend on anything less than your highest leverage work. Use commitment devices that make distraction harder than focus. Website blockers that prevent accessing social media during work hours. Apps that lock your phone for defined periods. Working in locations without internet access when you need to write or think. These tools remove the choice to distract yourself in moments of weakness. You decided during a rational moment that you want to focus. The commitment device enforces that decision later when temptation arrives. This is not lack of discipline. This is intelligent use of tools that compensate for human psychology. Even the most disciplined people benefit from systems that make good choices easier. Learn to recognize internal distraction patterns. You might notice you reach for your phone whenever work becomes slightly difficult. You might check email when you feel uncertain about the next step in a project. You might browse news when anxiety about business outcomes surfaces. These patterns are escape mechanisms. Your brain seeks relief from discomfort through distraction. Once you recognize your specific patterns, you can interrupt them consciously. When you notice the urge to distract, pause and name the feeling driving it. I want to check social media because this task feels overwhelming. Naming the urge often diffuses it. You can then choose to push through the discomfort rather than escape it. Build tolerance for boredom because distraction is often boredom avoidance. Modern life has conditioned you to expect constant stimulation, waiting in line, check your phone, sitting in silence, turn on music or podcasts. Moment of nothing happening, fill it with content. This constant stimulation destroys your ability to think deeply, which requires tolerating periods of apparent inactivity while your mind processes complex ideas. Practice sitting with boredom deliberately. Wait without pulling out your phone. Sit quietly without background noise. Take walks without podcasts. These practices rebuild your capacity for sustained thought by making boredom tolerable rather than something to escape immediately. Conduct weekly reviews to identify emerging distraction patterns. What pulled your attention away from important work this week? Which commitments consumed time without providing value? Which activities felt productive but produced no meaningful results? Use these insights to adjust your systems continuously. Distraction is not a problem you solve once. New sources emerge constantly as technology evolves and life circumstances change. Weekly reviews let you spot problems while they are small before they become entrenched habits that drain months of productivity. Protect your attention from people and opportunities that seem good but do not align with your priorities. A coffee meeting with an interesting person. Conference that sounds valuable. A project that could be profitable. These opportunities compete for the same attention your core business requires. Every yes to something is a no to something else. Most entrepreneurs fail because they say yes to too many good things and never focus long enough on the great things that actually build wealth. Practice saying no gracefully but firmly. That sounds interesting, but I am fully committed to other priorities right now. You do not need elaborate justifications. You need boundaries that protect your limited attention for what matters most. Recognize that some distractions disguise themselves as work, reorganizing your task management system instead of completing tasks, researching better tools instead of using current tools effectively, planning future projects instead of executing current ones, reading about strategies instead of implementing them. These activities feel productive because they relate to work, but they produce no actual value. They are sophisticated procrastination. Guard against them by asking whether the activity directly advances your most important current goal. If not, it is probably disguised distraction regardless of how work-related it seems. The difference between successful and unsuccessful entrepreneurs is not talent or luck. It is the ability to maintain focus on high-value activities while everyone around them chases distractions. Every hour you spend genuinely focused on work that matters is worth 5 hours of fragmented, distracted effort. Protect your attention with the same intensity you would protect your money. Both are finite resources. Both determine your outcomes. Unlike money, you cannot get more attention once you have spent it. The hours lost to distraction today are gone forever. Starting now, treat every hour as the irreplaceable resource it is and build systems that prevent its theft by the infinite distractions demanding it. Chapter 18. Think globally while starting with local opportunities. The Internet promises global reach from day one, which paradoxically paralyzes many entrepreneurs. They dream of serving customers worldwide but never gain traction anywhere because they spread themselves too thin across markets they do not understand. Meanwhile, The smartest entrepreneurs reverse this approach. They think globally about where their business could eventually reach, but start intensely local to validate their model, refine their offering, and build momentum before expanding. Local markets provide immediate feedback loops, lower customer acquisition costs, and opportunities to learn through direct interaction. Once you dominate locally and understand what works, you possess a proven playbook to replicate in other markets. The entrepreneur who tries to be everywhere immediately is nowhere effectively. The entrepreneur who masters one market, then systematically expands, conquers territory that scattered efforts could never capture. Local does not necessarily mean geographic proximity. It means a defined, concentrated market where you can achieve meaningful penetration. For service businesses, local might literally mean your city or region where you can meet clients face to face. For digital products, local might mean a specific industry, demographic, or community you can reach through focused channels. The principle is the same regardless of definition. Concentrate your early efforts on a market small enough that you can become known within it, large enough that success there supports your business, and accessible enough that you can reach decision makers directly. This concentration creates disproportionate returns because you are not fighting for attention across the entire world. You are becoming the obvious choice within a specific domain. Start by identifying which local market provides the most accessible entry point for your offering. Which group of potential customers can you reach with minimal marketing spend? Which decision makers can you access through existing relationships or direct outreach? Which communities already gather in places where you can participate? The best starting market is rarely the largest market. It is the market where you have unfair advantages through access, credibility, or unique understanding. The developer who worked in healthcare for a decade should not start by targeting all businesses. Start by targeting healthcare organizations where your industry knowledge creates instant credibility. Dominate that vertical, then expand to adjacent markets using your success as proof. Build deep local relationships that provide insights impossible to gain from a distance. Meet customers in person when feasible. Attend industry events where your target market gathers. Join local business groups where potential clients participate. Have coffee with early customers to understand their experiences thoroughly. This proximity reveals nuances that surveys and analytics miss. You learn how they actually describe their problems, which is different from how you assumed they would. You discover objections you did not anticipate. You observe their workflows and spot improvement opportunities your product could address. These insights let you refine your offering rapidly based on direct observation rather than theory. The business that launches globally online gets data but misses context. The business that starts locally gets both. Use local success to create case studies and testimonials that fuel broader expansion. Companies considering your service want proof it works for situations similar to theirs. When you can show documented success with businesses in their industry, their city, or their size category, skepticism disappears. Your local concentration produces concentrated proof rather than scattered anecdotes. 5 detailed case studies from one industry carry more weight than 50 generic testimonials from random customers. This social proof becomes your primary sales tool as you expand to new markets. You are not asking prospects to take a chance on an unproven solution. You are showing them a track record of results in contexts they recognize as relevant. Think globally by studying how similar businesses scaled across markets. Which geographic regions did they enter next? What product adaptations did they make for different markets? What marketing channels worked in each new territory? How did pricing need to adjust? What partnerships facilitated entry? This research creates an expansion roadmap before you need it. You understand the sequence of markets that make strategic sense rather than expanding randomly. You anticipate challenges that tripped up others. You identify patterns about which markets adopt quickly versus slowly. This global perspective informs your local focus by helping you choose initial markets that set up ideal expansion paths. Design your business model from the beginning to be replicable across markets. The processes that work in your initial market should work everywhere with minor adaptation. Document everything you do to serve customers well. Create standard operating procedures for each business function. Build systems that do not depend on you personally knowing everyone. This discipline serves two purposes. It lets you scale within your initial market by training others to execute your model. It also prepares you to replicate the model in new markets without starting from scratch. The entrepreneur who builds their business around personal relationships and informal processes gets trapped. They cannot expand because everything depends on them specifically. The entrepreneur who systematizes from the start can clone their success. Leverage technology to serve global markets from a local operational base. You do not need offices worldwide to serve customers worldwide. Cloud infrastructure, digital communication, and remote collaboration tools let small teams serve international markets effectively. Your product delivery, customer support, and ongoing services can reach anywhere while your core team operates from wherever makes sense. This global capability with local efficiency is historically unprecedented. Previous generations needed physical presence in each market. You need good systems and reliable internet. This advantage lets you test global markets opportunistically while maintaining focus on your core local market. Monitor global trends while executing locally. Major shifts in technology, regulation, or consumer behavior might emerge in other markets before reaching yours. Subscription models became standard in software before spreading to physical products. Privacy regulations started in Europe before similar laws appeared elsewhere. Digital payment adoption happened in some Asian markets before Western ones. Watching these global patterns gives you advance notice of changes heading your way. You can prepare your business to capitalize on trends or protect against threats before they arrive locally. This global awareness, combined with local focus, creates advantage. You act where you are while learning from everywhere. Hire team members from diverse geographic backgrounds, even if working remotely. Their perspectives reveal assumptions you hold about markets, customer behavior, and business practices that are actually local quirks rather than universal truths. The team member from a different country will question approaches you thought were obvious, forcing you to examine whether your methods are truly optimal or just familiar. This diversity makes your business more adaptable when you eventually expand because you have already incorporated global perspectives into your operations. You are not suddenly learning that other markets work differently. You have been building with that knowledge from the beginning. Test international markets opportunistically before committing resources. When customers from other regions discover you organically, serve them well and learn from the experience. What attracted them? How did they find you? What adjustments did they request? Do they behave differently from your core market? These opportunistic international customers provide free market research. They tell you which markets show organic interest, which suggests those markets might be strong targets for intentional expansion later. Track where website visitors come from. Notice which countries produce email subscribers. Pay attention to where social media engagement originates. This data reveals demand before you spend money chasing it. Establish thought leadership in your local market that has global visibility. Speak at conferences. Write for publications. Appear on podcasts. Participate in online communities. Position yourself as an expert solving specific problems for your target market. This visibility attracts attention beyond your immediate geography because content and reputation travel freely online. The consultant known as the expert in a specific city for a specific service will only get hired locally. The consultant known as the expert in a specific industry challenge will get hired globally by companies in that industry. Build local dominance in ways that create global awareness. You benefit from concentrated market position while capturing opportunities from broader reach. Price your offering to be competitive locally but scalable globally. Research what your market pays currently and position within that range. Simultaneously, understand pricing in markets you might expand to later. If your eventual goal is serving international clients, ensure your pricing structure works across markets with different spending power. You might need tiered offerings that let you serve premium markets at higher rates while remaining accessible to emerging markets. Planning this pricing architecture early prevents the need to restructure everything when you expand, which often alienates existing customers who see you changing terms. Partner with other businesses that have complementary market access. The company serving your target market with non-competing services can introduce you to customers who already trust them. These partnerships let you expand reach without expanding marketing budgets. You gain access to their local relationships. They gain additional value to offer their customers. Structure these partnerships carefully with clear expectations about lead sharing, revenue splits if applicable, and boundaries around competition. Good partnerships accelerate growth faster than you can achieve alone. Bad partnerships create conflicts that damage both businesses. Accept that global expansion requires patience even after local success. Each new market brings unique challenges requiring adaptation. Cultural differences affect messaging. Competitive dynamics vary by region. Regulatory requirements change by country. Distribution channels that work in one place fail in another. Moving too fast into too many markets simultaneously dilutes your effectiveness. Better to methodically conquer markets sequentially, applying lessons from each expansion to improve the next one. The business that expands to 20 markets superficially loses to the business that dominates 5 markets deeply. Depth creates defensible position. Breadth without depth creates vulnerability everywhere. Your ultimate goal is building a business that can serve customers globally while maintaining operational efficiency and market knowledge that comes from disciplined expansion. Start by dominating a defined market you can reach and understand deeply. Build the systems, proof points, and expertise that make expansion possible. Then grow market by market, consolidating position and learning at each stage. The entrepreneur who thinks globally but acts locally builds empires. The entrepreneur who thinks locally and acts scattered builds nothing sustainable. You are capable of the former. Begin today by defining which concentrated market you will master first. Chapter 19. Invest profits wisely to compound wealth faster. Making money is only half the equation. What you do with profits determines whether you build lasting wealth or stay perpetually hustling for the next dollar. Most entrepreneurs celebrate their first profitable months by increasing personal spending proportionally. Revenue goes up, lifestyle inflates to match, and years later they realize they built a job that pays well rather than wealth that compounds. The entrepreneur who thinks long-term does something entirely different. They treat early profits as seeds to plant rather than crops to harvest. They reinvest strategically into assets that multiply returns, diversify income, and eventually create financial independence where work becomes optional. The difference between these approaches compounds dramatically over a decade. One entrepreneur still trades time for money at a higher rate. The other entrepreneur has assets generating returns whether they work or not. Your first reinvestment priority should be eliminating business vulnerabilities that could destroy what you built. Lack of cash reserves is the primary killer of profitable businesses. One late-paying client, one unexpected expense, one market disruption creates a crisis that forces desperate decisions. Build a business emergency fund covering 6 months of operating expenses before spending profits on anything else. This buffer transforms your decision-making completely. You can turn down bad, fit clients because you do not need their money immediately. You can invest in long-term strategies because short-term cash flow does not dictate every choice. You can weather economic downturns that bankrupt competitors operating without reserves. This financial cushion is not conservative. It is the foundation that makes aggressive growth possible without reckless risk. Once you have established safety reserves, invest in acquiring customers more efficiently. Marketing and sales are the leverage points that multiply every other business activity. Money spent acquiring customers at profitable unit economics returns more money that you can spend acquiring more customers. This compounds. Invest $1,000 acquiring 10 customers at $100 each. Those customers generate $5,000 in lifetime value. Reinvest that $5,000 acquiring 50 more customers. Those 50 generate 25,000. You have created a self-sustaining growth engine. Most entrepreneurs are too timid about customer acquisition spending because they view it as expense rather than investment. Calculate your customer lifetime value and your acquisition cost accurately. If lifetime value exceeds acquisition cost by 3 times or more, you should be investing every available dollar acquiring more customers because the math guarantees profit. The business that figures this out and deploys capital aggressively into acquisition dominates markets while competitors who hoard cash stagnate. Invest in systems and automation that increase capacity without increasing costs proportionally. Software that handles tasks humans currently do. Equipment that increases production speed. Infrastructure that allows serving more customers simultaneously. These investments have high upfront costs but dramatically lower ongoing costs compared to hiring. The accounting software that costs $500 monthly replaces a bookkeeper costing $3,000 monthly. The automated email sequence that costs $50 monthly replaces a person spending 10 hours weekly on follow-up. These investments pay for themselves quickly and then generate savings forever. The entrepreneur who avoids these investments to preserve cash flow actually loses money by continuing expensive manual methods. Calculate the payback period for any efficiency investment. If it pays for itself within 12 months, implement it immediately. Those monthly savings compound into massive efficiency advantages over years. Diversify beyond your primary business once it generates consistent profits. Concentrating everything in a single venture exposes you to catastrophic risk if that venture fails. Allocate a percentage of profits to investments outside your business. Stock market index funds provide broad market exposure requiring no active management. Real estate generates rental income and appreciates over time. Bonds provide stable returns with lower risk. The specific investments matter less than the principle of diversification. You are converting business income into assets that generate returns independent of your business success. If your business faces challenges, these external investments provide income stability. If your business continues thriving, these investments build wealth from multiple sources simultaneously. Aim to allocate at least 20% of profits to investments outside your business once you have established adequate reserves and funded growth investments. Invest in developing skills that multiply your earning capacity rather than just expanding current capacity. The consultant who invests in learning persuasion and sales can charge higher rates and close more deals. The product builder who learns marketing reaches more customers with the same product. The service provider who develops leadership skills can manage larger teams and serve bigger clients. These skill investments have unlimited return potential because they increase what you can earn per hour forever. Compare this to hiring help, which only adds linear capacity. Another team member lets you serve more clients at the same rate you currently charge. Better skills let you serve clients at rates 10 times higher. Both investments have place, but skill development often gets neglected because the returns are less obvious initially. Dedicate a portion of profits to courses, coaching, conferences, and training that develop capabilities elevating your entire income potential. Consider purchasing complementary businesses that serve the same customers. The marketing agency that acquires a web development firm can now offer more services to existing clients. The accounting practice that acquires a bookkeeping service expands its offering vertically. These acquisitions let you capture more revenue from customers you already have relationships with. They also accelerate growth faster than organic expansion because you acquire their customer base, team, and systems immediately rather than building from scratch. Many small businesses operate profitably, but their owners want to exit. You can often acquire these businesses for reasonable multiples of earnings, giving you immediate cash flow and strategic advantages. The profit from your primary business funds acquisitions that diversify your holdings while remaining within your area of expertise. Invest in personal health and well-being systematically. This seems unrelated to wealth building until you understand that your capacity to generate income depends entirely on your physical and mental state. Exhaustion leads to poor decisions costing you multiples of what prevention would have cost. Burnout forces you to stop working entirely, killing momentum you spent years building. Stress-related health problems drain resources and attention from business. Treat health investments as wealth preservation strategies. Quality food, regular exercise, adequate sleep, stress management, preventive health care, these are not luxuries. They are maintenance on your most important asset, yourself. Budget a percentage of profits for health, just as you budget for business operations. The entrepreneur who invests $10,000 annually in health but operates at peak capacity generates far more wealth than the entrepreneur who saves that money but operates at 60% capacity. Reinvest in strengthening customer relationships because retention is more valuable than acquisition. Existing customers already trust you, understand your value, and are easier to sell to than new prospects. Invest profits in systems that increase customer satisfaction and loyalty, better onboarding experiences, more responsive support, surprise value additions, community building. Customers who receive exceptional ongoing value refer others and purchase repeatedly. The lifetime value of a delighted customer can be 10 times higher than a merely satisfied one. Most businesses obsess over acquiring new customers while neglecting existing ones. This is backwards economically. The profit from keeping and expanding relationships with current customers funds acquiring new ones. Reverse this sequence and you struggle constantly because acquisition costs consume all profits while customers churn without producing the lifetime value that justifies acquisition costs. Avoid lifestyle inflation that consumes profits without building assets. The new luxury car is a depreciating expense, not an investment. The expensive office in a prestigious location might boost ego but rarely boosts profits proportionally. Designer clothing makes you feel successful without making you wealthy. These expenditures are fine once you have achieved financial independence, but deploying profits toward lifestyle before building wealth is the primary mistake that keeps entrepreneurs from escaping the income treadmill. Define a modest but comfortable lifestyle and maintain it even as profits grow. The difference between what you earn and what you spend gets invested in assets. This discipline feels like sacrifice initially, but 5 years later, when your investments generate substantial passive income, you have bought freedom. The entrepreneur who increased spending with income has bought fancier things but still cannot stop working. Tax efficiency should guide investment strategy because taxes are often your largest expense. Work with qualified accountants to structure investments, minimizing tax liability legally. Retirement accounts offer tax advantages for long-term saving. Certain business investments provide immediate deductions, reducing taxable income. Holding investments for specific periods changes tax treatment. Different entity structures affect how profits get taxed. These details matter enormously over time. Two entrepreneurs earning identical profits can end up with vastly different after-tax wealth based purely on tax strategy. The money you save on taxes through intelligent planning is money available for investment. Most entrepreneurs ignore tax strategy until filing season, which is too late to optimize. Plan throughout the year with professional guidance and structure your financial decisions to minimize tax drag on wealth building. Measure investment returns honestly and reallocate capital to highest performers. Some investments will outperform expectations. Others will disappoint. Track the actual return on every dollar invested in marketing, systems, people, skills, and external investments. This data should drive future allocation decisions. If one marketing channel generates a 500% return and another generates zero, stop funding the zero return channel and increase investment in the 500% return channel until returns begin decreasing. This sounds obvious, but most entrepreneurs continue funding activities from habit rather than performance. Regular quarterly reviews of where money went and what returns it generated ensure capital flows toward productive uses, rather than being wasted on legacy investments that no longer work. Understand that compounding requires patience but produces exponential results. Money invested today grows slowly at first. The returns on modest initial investments seem insignificant, but returns generate their own returns, which generate more returns. After years, the growth accelerates dramatically. The entrepreneur who invests $10,000 annually at 10% returns has $110,000 after 10 years, but $450,000 after 30 years. The majority of the growth happens in later years as compounding accelerates. Most entrepreneurs never experience this exponential phase because they spend profits instead of investing them, or they abandon investments before compounding can work. Commit to systematic reinvestment over decades, and you will build wealth that dwarfs what your labor alone could ever generate. Profits are not rewards for hard work. They are raw material for building wealth. Treat them accordingly. Every dollar you earn represents a choice. Spend it and it disappears. Invest it wisely and it multiplies. Make the choice consistently toward investment, and 10 years from now you will have options that spending could never provide. Start this month by calculating your business profits and deciding what percentage you will invest rather than spend. That percentage represents your commitment to building wealth rather than just earning income. Chapter 20. Lead teams by inspiring vision, not control. Control-based leadership creates compliance. Vision-based leadership creates commitment. The difference determines whether your team executes tasks mechanically or pursues objectives passionately. Entrepreneurs who lead through control micromanage every decision, demand constant updates, and treat employees like machines that need supervision. This approach produces minimal effort aimed at avoiding punishment rather than maximum effort aimed at achieving something meaningful. People show up, complete assigned tasks, and leave without investing emotional energy or creative thinking. The business functions but never excels because nobody cares beyond their paycheck. Vision-based leadership operates completely differently. You paint a compelling picture of where the team is going and why it matters. You connect daily work to meaningful outcomes. You trust people to find their own paths toward shared goals. This approach unlocks discretionary effort. The extra 20% people give when they believe in what they are building rather than just earning money. Great vision answers 3 fundamental questions everyone on your team needs to understand. Where are we going? Why does it matter? How do I contribute? Most entrepreneurs answer none of these clearly, which creates teams that drift without purpose. Where are we going means defining specific ambitious outcomes you are building toward, not vague aspirations like, we want to be the best, but concrete targets like, we will serve 10,000 customers by generating measurable results that change their businesses within 18 months. This specificity lets people visualize success and measure progress. Why does it matter connects your business objectives to impact beyond profit. You are not just selling products. You are solving problems that genuinely improve lives, industries, or communities. When people understand their work creates real value for real humans, effort increases dramatically. How do I contribute shows each person how their specific role advances the overall mission. The support person is not just answering tickets. They are ensuring customers succeed, so they refer others and testimonials prove your value. Every role connects to the larger vision in ways people can see and feel proud of. Communicate vision constantly through multiple channels. Say it in team meetings. Reference it in one-on-one conversations. Include it in written communications. Display it visibly in your workspace. The mistake most leaders make is articulating vision once during onboarding, then never mentioning it again. Vision requires repetition because people forget. New situations require recontextualization, and consistent reminders keep everyone aligned. You cannot over-communicate vision. The team member who can articulate where you are going and why it matters in their own words is engaged. The team member who cannot probably feels like they are just completing tasks without understanding their purpose. Hire for alignment with vision before hiring for skills. Skills can be taught. Belief in your mission either exists or it does not. The person who shares your vision will learn what they need to know. The person who does not share your vision will perform adequately at best regardless of expertise. During interviews, spend more time exploring whether candidates care about the problem you solve than assessing their technical capabilities. Ask why they want to join your specific company rather than competitors. Ask what excites them about your mission. Ask how they think about impact beyond earning income. Their answers reveal whether they will bring passion to the work or just competence. Build a team of people who believe in where you are going, and skills become a minor hiring criteria. Give people ownership over outcomes rather than tasks. Task-based management says, complete these specific activities in this specific way. Outcome-based leadership says, achieve this result using your best judgment about how. The first approach treats people like children following instructions. The second treats them like capable adults trusted to solve problems. When you assign outcomes and trust people to determine methods, you tap into their creativity and intelligence. They find better approaches than you would have prescribed. They take ownership of results because they chose the path. They feel respected and trusted, which increases commitment. The manager who prescribes every step gets exactly what they asked for, nothing more. The leader who defines outcomes and empowers people gets innovation and initiative they never could have specified. Celebrate progress toward vision loudly and specifically. When someone makes a decision or completes work that advances your mission, acknowledge it publicly with details about why it mattered. Not generic praise like, good job, but specific recognition like, you spent extra time ensuring that customer understood how to implement our solution effectively, which means they will get results and become a referral source. That is exactly the kind of impact we are building toward. This specific celebration teaches everyone what behaviors you value while making the person feel seen and appreciated. It connects their daily actions to the larger vision, reinforcing that what they do matters. Most leaders acknowledge big wins, but ignore small daily actions that actually build the vision. Reverse this. Celebrate the consistent behaviors that compound into major achievements. Protect your team from distractions that dilute focus on core vision. The world offers endless opportunities, partnerships, and ideas that sound good but divert attention from what actually matters. Your job as leader is saying no to distractions so your team can focus. Every time you chase a shiny object, your team fragments attention across conflicting priorities. Every time you hold firm on strategic focus, your team channels effort toward meaningful objectives. The leader who says yes to everything creates chaos. The leader who protects focus creates momentum. Your team cannot pursue your vision if you keep changing direction or adding priorities that conflict with it. Model the behaviors and values you want to see rather than just talking about them. If you say customer success matters but never interact with customers yourself, nobody believes it matters. If you claim quality as paramount but rush shoddy work to meet deadlines, everyone learns that speed trumps quality regardless of what you say. If you preach work-life balance but send emails at midnight, your team will feel pressure to do the same. People follow what leaders do far more than what leaders say. Your behavior sets culture more than any handbook or speech. Be the embodiment of your vision and values. When your actions match your words consistently, people trust both. Share information transparently so people understand the full context of their work. Most leaders hoard information, thinking it gives them power or protects the team from worry. This creates the opposite effect. Without context, people cannot make good decisions. They cannot understand why certain priorities matter. They cannot see how their work fits into the larger picture. Transparency about challenges, finances, strategic thinking, and decision-making processes makes everyone smarter and more aligned. Obviously, some information must remain confidential, but the default should be sharing rather than withholding. Treat your team like partners who deserve to understand the business they are building rather than employees who just need instructions. Invest in developing people's capabilities beyond their current roles. Pay for training that expands their skills. Give them challenging projects that stretch their abilities. Mentor them toward career goals even if those goals eventually take them beyond your company. This investment signals that you care about them as people, not just as resources producing output. It also builds loyalty and capability that benefits your business while they are with you. The leader who views people as replaceable parts gets minimal effort and high turnover. The leader who invests in people's growth gets exceptional effort and long tenures. People stay where they are growing and learning, even when they could earn more elsewhere. Create psychological safety where people can take risks and voice concerns without fear. The team that fears punishment for mistakes will hide problems until they become catastrophic. The team that fears disagreeing with leadership will silently watch you make avoidable errors. The team that fears proposing unconventional ideas will never innovate. Psychological safety means people trust that speaking up, admitting mistakes, and trying approaches that might fail will not result in punishment. This safety unlocks the collective intelligence of your team. You hear about problems early when they are fixable. You get pushback when your ideas have flaws. You receive creative suggestions you never would have thought of. Build this safety by responding to bad news and disagreement with curiosity rather than anger. Thank people for raising concerns even when you disagree with them. Reward intelligent failures that taught valuable lessons. The way you respond to vulnerability determines whether people will be vulnerable again. Connect compensation and recognition to behaviors that advance the vision. What you reward grows. If you reward individual performance without regard to team impact, you create selfish behavior. If you reward activity without regard to outcomes, you create busy work. If you reward hitting targets at any cost, you create corner cutting. Structure incentives around the specific behaviors and outcomes your vision requires. The company building toward exceptional customer satisfaction should reward metrics related to customer success, not just sales volume. The company building toward innovation should reward calculated risks and learning from failures, not just immediate profits. Align what people get rewarded for with what your vision needs, and behavior naturally follows. Lead by asking questions that provoke thinking rather than giving answers that create dependence. When someone brings you a problem, resist the urge to solve it immediately. Ask what they think should be done. Ask what options they have considered. Ask what the implications of different approaches might be. This questioning develops their judgment and decision-making capabilities. Over time, they need you less because they have learned to think through problems themselves. The leader who always provides answers becomes a bottleneck. The leader who asks questions that teach people to find their own answers builds a team that scales beyond their personal capacity. Remember that people leave managers, not companies. Your leadership style determines whether talented people stay and give their best or leave for opportunities where they feel more valued. The entrepreneur who builds a great business but leads through control will struggle with constant turnover and mediocre performance. The entrepreneur who leads through inspiring vision will attract exceptional talent that stays, grows, and builds something remarkable together. Everything you have learned in this book about entrepreneurial thinking means nothing if you cannot build a team that executes the vision. Leadership is not a minor detail. It is the multiplier on everything else. Master it, and your vision becomes reality through the collective effort of people who choose to follow you, not because they must, but because they believe in where you are going and trust you to lead them there.